I don't know the car.
I was talking about doing that. Nobody.
Yeah, but you know what? It's still like, I'm never. Can you open this? You never know.
Holes, and then we can get this started. It's so awkward. My hands are so cold.
Were we supposed to do 7?
No, 5 and 6. Why? Well, you were outside. So.
True.
What time were you at?
I actually got lucky today because she came in like right as I got out of the car, so I was like,
I
yes.
just showing you how to.
Didn't have to sit outside.
Yeah, when when I saw you walking up, I saw you sitting there. I wanted to yell, "You guys can go in. It's over. I'm just not going in yet." But then someone told you guys.
Well, I was doing words. But then I'll make you walk.
No, I took the bus.
Now we're closed. Okay.
Okay, yeah, it was,
Not just stopping. Okay.
Man, girl, if I had walked out, you'd been by her. Always somebody
Okay,
else.
so first beep was here. First thumb was here. 130. No, not 130. 124. Last beep was up here, and that was 76.
So 124 over 72.
all right. So apparently there was an update. Isn't that nice? And it knocked out, because it's a security plug, and it knocked out my ability for my computer to stream to the right application. So I'm basically just doing a screen mirror right now. It'll help you guys. You guys will be fine. You guys at home, I apologize. I know you can't see the screen very well because you're seeing it from the camera, not on the screen. I will work on fixing that after class today, but today is going to be a bit challenging. I apologize. Yeah, I love all these security fixes that knock me out. So, did you guys read chapters 5 and 6? Yes. 5 and 6. Does anybody have any questions on 5 and 6? 5 is important. It's on dementia. And you're going to have a lot of patients in your career with dementia. So it is important that we, kind of have an understanding of what dementia is. And we talked just a little bit about this, about our bodies being a factory and every part of our body being a factory. And good morning, as we age, some of those all of those parts are going to age with us, and some get affected a little more than others. So because our brain is a memory making factory, as we get older, the memories that we make may not be the best quality, the same quality as the memories we made when we were really, really young. So as long as we kind of remember that when we're working with elderly patients, because they may say, is it lunchtime yet? And you're like, you just got back from lunch. How could you not remember you had lunch? Well, it's because the part of the brain that makes that memory just isn't working today. It's offline. So we need to be patient with them and say, you've already had lunch. Dinner is at 5, or, whatever the case may be. Or ask, are you hungry? Because maybe they got to lunch and they forgot to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So are you hungry? Do you want a snack? So instead of being frustrated with them, we kind of have to understand the root cause of what's happening and deal with that. Does that make sense? So dementia is a really important subject for us. Chapter 6 is on skills. We do skills in class. So not as important. Okay. All right. So let me get your scores for 5 and 6. I'm not sure where everybody is. Kendra, Brittany,
I got 100 on chapter 5, and I wasn't able to complete chapter 6.
no problems. Do you have 4 for me?
Yes, 100%.
Thank you. Lashadra?
100 for 5, and I didn't complete 7
That-
or 6 yet.
That's fine. Sehar?
100 for chapter 5 and chapter 4, 95.
Thank you. Korea? Chelsea? Catherine? Jordan?
Oh my god, I'm so sorry, my brain.
No worries.
You said chapter 5?
5 and 6.
I'm gonna be completely honest. I totally forgot, so I'm gonna be doing that.
No worries. Megan?
I got 95 on chapter 5 and 100 on 6.
Thank you. Let's see here. Tanaya? Aaliyah?
I got a 95 on both.
Thank you. Do you have 4 for me as well?
Uh, 100.
Thank you. Ricky? Lori? Nadine?
I wasn't here.
Okay.
I'm gonna get to do it today.
Okay. Do you have any of the other chapters done? 2, 3, 4?
No, I
No.
wasn't here on Wednesday.
No worries. Jamie?
I got 100 on 5 and a 95 on 6.
Okay. All right. Any?
Oh,
Forgot.
Oh, did I forget you?
Monday, last Monday's homework.
How did I forget you?
Oh.
Let me see here. What's your name? Jasmine. Oh, how did I miss you? You're right there. Jasmine, what'd you get?
A 95 on 5 and a 95 on 6, and I made up chapters. I think it was 3 to 4.
Okay.
I got 95 on 3 and a 90 on 4.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Any questions on any of that? All right. So, Caitlin, I'm not sure whether you were able to get in or not. It doesn't look like it because my phone is blowing up. My watch is blowing up. Let me look here real quick. Those of you.
It's so cute, right? That is so cute.
I got one of those on.
Oh my gosh.
Stanley
It's
wants too much of my
personalized.
money.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
know.
That is so cute. Right?
Amazon did that.
Okay.
What'd you get?
Yeah, she's not able to get logged in. These updates are killing me. All right, so those of you online, I'm not going to be able to see your questions here. We can do this one. Patricia says, good morning. I passed my exams on Wednesday. Thanks so much for your help. Congratulations. Great job. Super proud. Yeah, so when you post comments and questions today, they're not going to pop up on the screen automatically. I apologize. Caitlin's not able to get in. So I'll be checking periodically for any questions. So if I don't answer them right away, that's why. I will get to them, but it may take me a little bit of time because we're doing this manually today, apparently. All right, so class is half over, guys. There's only 3 classes left after today.
I know that's crazy.
Goes fast. So if you get behind on the homework, remember you don't have a whole lot of time to get caught back up. So it's really critical from this point on that you try to kind of stay with the class, because you are going to turn that yellow book in on the last day of class. You won't have it to be able to refer back to. So if you aren't if you get behind on the reading and you aren't all caught up by the time the class ends, you'll probably want to purchase that book to, finish up the reading. So just a gentle reminder for that. Registering for the test is important too, because you want to test about 2 weeks after class ends. That's the ideal time frame. Long enough that you're able to practice. Short enough that you don't forget what I've said. So if you haven't registered for the test yet, I would encourage you to do so. Now, some of you are having that reaction like, I'm not ready. I don't want to fail. I don't have enough practice. You've got all these self-confidence issues, and that's okay. That's normal. I don't want you to have confidence in you. I want you to have confidence in me. You are prepared. You don't realize it yet, but you are prepared. A little bit of practice will be the icing on top, okay? But you are prepared. So don't let that hold you back from registering for the test. You'll see what I mean when you get to the test center. One of the things that I would recommend that you do is go watch YouTube videos. Watch mine to see how it needs to be done for the test. Watch others, but have your book in front of you and go line by line. And if you can see mistakes, issues, that tells you you know how it should be done. Okay? But don't copy those mistakes, by the way. All right, we have the game show. This is just a reminder for you. Twice a month on the first and third Tuesday of every month. So the next one is going to be right after you graduate, which is actually good timing for you guys. It's a live game show. I give away prizes, but I go through 15 questions similar to what you would see on the state exam. And it lets you practice taking the written test in kind of a fun way because you're competing against everybody else for prizes. So you might want to remember to do that. All right, so let's review. How do we know what to do with each patient?
Care plan.
We follow the care plan, the whole care plan, and
Nothing but the care plan.
okay, if we are following that care plan and doing the skills it says, what should we be looking for? Yeah, abnormalities, changes, problems, complaints, anything. And what do we do with the anything?
Report it to the nurse.
Report it to the nurse. So even something as simple as Henry won't let me do foot care. Is that important?
Yes.
Why?
Because something wrong with this feet.
Yeah, and nobody's looking at them. Correct. So if we can't do a skill, who do we tell?
The nurse.
The nurse. Okay, very good. Every skill starts with an opening. What does every opening start with?
A knock.
A knock. So when you get into the state test and you don't know what to do, what are you going to do? Knock. There you go. Once we knocked, we should greet the
Patient.
okay by
By name.
name. Very good. Very good. Can we ever use sweetie, honey, darling, dear?
No.
No. We want to keep this professional. You want to keep this professional. You want them to respect you, don't you?
Yes.
Right? You're a healthcare professional. Well, if you start using terms of endearment, you do not, they're not going to see you as a professional.
I see you as a friend.
That's right. And that we need that professional separation for a lot of reasons. I actually go a step further. This is just me. This has nothing to do with the test. This is a personal belief for me. I am a Southern girl, born and raised, and I don't believe in calling an elder by their first name.
Right.
I don't call elders by their first name. I stick to their last name. You know, Mr. or Mrs. Jones, Mr. or Mrs. Smith. If they say, oh, you can call me Tilly, it would be Miss Tilly. That's a way of keeping that professional separation. If I go in and just call her Tilly, Well, now I'm acting more like a friend, and that can cause some issues. Does that make sense? So for me, I don't call patients by their first names. I try to keep last names, or if they insist on first names, there's always a Miss or Mr. in front of it. Okay. All right. So we've addressed them by name. What do they need to know about us?
Our title of ourselves.
Name and title. Yeah. And then what are we going to
What skill?
tell them we're doing? Yeah. What skill? Why do we have to go through all that?
So they know exactly what you're going to do and aren't surprised when you suddenly touch them or do something.
Or a stranger.
Right. Yeah. Stranger danger is real, isn't it? You are about to see all of their most private secrets. You really need to, there's no dinner and movie beforehand. So we really at least need to know who we're dealing with here. Remember, they are one of your patients. You got a million of those. But you are working on them. And we have to think about this from the patient's point of view, not just ours, right? For us, this is very routine. I've seen them all. I don't care anymore. But that's not your patient's experience. This is very personal to them. Never forget that. And it's really, really easy to do when you're out there working. You just get into the routine and it's just very natural to kind of stop thinking about things from the patient's point of view. But we really do need to kind of keep that top of mind. And if you do, you are going to be an exceptional CNA. You're going to be the one that all the nurses want to work with. Once we tell them what we're going to do, what do we need to get from them? Permission. And then we've got to provide privacy. How are we going to do that? Close the privacy curtain. Now, once we've touched that curtain, is it clean?
No.
So what are we going to do?
Wash our hands.
Wash our hands. Absolutely. Now that we have clean hands, we can get our clean supplies. Can we touch our supplies before that? No. You guys are so ready for the test. Oh my gosh. Look at how much you have learned in 2 weeks. Right?
Shouldn't we get the barrier first?
So yeah, we're gonna do that. Yep, we're gonna do that. But as far as the opening goes, we can't touch the patient until our hands are clean. So now some skills require supplies. And if we are going to use supplies and we have to have a place to put them, we need a place. Well, we'll get there. We need a place to put them. So how do we create a clean surface? We're going to use a barrier. Now, if we're going to learn a skill today called ambulate with a gait belt. We're going to get a gait belt, but we really aren't going to lay it anywhere. So we wouldn't need a barrier because we're not laying it down. Make sense? Mm-hmm. But if we're using toothbrushes or toothpaste or washcloths or towels or patient gowns or privacy layer, or all those other things, we need a clean place to put it. And that's why we would go get a barrier. When do you want to get the barrier? Before or after you get your supplies? Before. Why?
That way you're not having something touch your uniform while you're laying it out.
Why is that important?
Because your uniform is technically not clean.
Very good. Hi. I can't even throw you guys off track. Good job.
It's just remembering the different supplies for each skill.
Okay, so we do have to learn our supplies. And there's no way around this. You really kind of have to memorize them. But make it make sense to you. Okay, if you're going to be doing mouth care, well, what are the things you need for mouth care? If you're going to brush your teeth, what are the things you need?
Toothbrush, toothpaste,
something to spit in.
Something to spit in, some water. And then what do you do after?
You dry it.
Yeah, so we need a towel. Yeah. And then we're going to think about gloves in just a minute, but try to make it make sense. And the supplies get a little bit easier, right? But you do have to memorize them. The flashcards do help with that. If you don't have the flashcards, make them. You've got all the supplies in the book at the bottom of the skills page. but you do have to learn your supplies.
So, and I know in each facility, are you gonna be able to tell what, I know this is along with our other, the privacy blanket, can you tell the difference? Like, is any facility, you're always gonna be able to tell the difference between a privacy blanket and a regular sheet and stuff?
Yes. So privacy blankets they're like what we have. Okay. They're kind of like a light tan color. Oh, you got in. Yay. Caitlin got in. Thank you, Caitlin. Yes, a blanket to go on the bed is usually that waffle weave kind of thicker blanket. And then a privacy blanket is thinner and usually like a light tan in color. If it's been washed about 1 million times, it'll look a little whiter, but yeah, you'll be able to tell the difference. Not all places have privacy blankets out there. I will tell you that. What are some other things we could use to provide privacy if there are no privacy blankets?
Towel or
Another blanket, a towel, something, anything, fig leaf, I don't care. But make sure that your patient is not laying uncovered, undressed in the bed for the world to see. That's just not cool. So if your facility doesn't offer privacy blankets, find a suitable alternative. Maintain that dignity for that patient. Now, I'm going to tell you that the CNAs out there, they're going to tell you, oh, you don't need that. Yeah, you learned that in school. Nobody ever uses that. You don't need that. You know, it's a time waster. Don't worry about it. Patients don't care. What do you guys think about that?
Patients do.
They definitely care.
Yeah.
They care.
You're just deciding for
Sometimes
them.
my
what they
residents
don't.
be ready to knock my head off.
They're not worried about the patient, they're worried about
Like, baby, it's me, I'm
themselves,
sorry.
making things easier for them.
Very good. And those are very, very good points. They've made it all about them, right? A time saver for them. And we're not thinking about the patient anymore. And the patients do care. They may not verbalize that they care because,
It's embarrassing. They don't want to talk.
sure.
They're not going to be comfortable talking to you
Or they
about
could have dementia and they don't know.
that part.
Or, yeah, that could be a very valid point. Or they have complained in the past.
And it just hasn't gotten them anywhere.
That's right.
And
That's
the
right.
nurse might not like them, and if you come along and you're doing things right, they'll of course like you better, and of course want you more.
Very good. Very good. So when you get pushback from your other aides, I want you to remember that at the end of the day, it's all about the
Patient.
not us. And if you just very simply say, well, it's all about the patient. I'm making the patient comfortable. There's really no pushback to that. Because if they argue with you, then they're
Wrong.
they're just showing you that they're not there for the best interests of the patient, right? We do want to work together with our other aides. We do want to get along because you're going to need help, right? So we want to be helpful, but nobody is going to change unless they're shown a different way, right? Did you have something, Ms. Shadra?
No.
Okay.
Have you ever had a problem where you had a CNA that you probably didn't, but had a CNA you don't need all that stuff, it's, time consuming. Have you ever had a CNA that came along and did the correct ways and then have the other CNA just go
Yes.
back and take it off? And
Well, not necessarily take it off, but certainly give them a lot of crap.
So I was
Yeah.
going to say,
They
give them
never
a hard
went back.
time. For
Yeah.
so they never
Better.
went back and changed what that right CNA did with the patient.
No, I haven't seen that. It's just that bullying does happen sometimes. So I need you to be equipped to deal with
You
that.
saying
Right.
like employees?
Yeah, CNA to CNA bullying. It does
Especially if they're
happen.
new, working in the facility,
Yeah.
even the
That's
nurses, could be.
So I just want you to be very secure in why you're doing these steps. And that's why I go through these, right? It's not just enough to memorize them. You guys had them all memorized, days ago. It's not just about memorizing the steps. It's knowing why those steps are important so they become important to you moving forward. Because someday you're going to be the body in the bed. You will. I know you're young and it doesn't really seem like it, that's like 1 million years off. but someday you will be the body in the bed.
It's one of the things that
It can
kills me
happen.
about like hearing the stories, the caretaker stories, because it's just like you're gonna be in that position one day, and your caretaker probably is not gonna take care of you because karma.
And you could happen, like you said, that one guy happened when he was like in his 20s, so it could
Sure.
happen like tomorrow or the next day. Or
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have to really approach this. How would we want to be treated if we were the patient? And that's how I really want you to look at every patient that you care for. How would I want somebody to treat me if it was me? Okay. So along with supplies, we have to decide whether we need gloves. So how do we know? What are our 3 rules? If we might touch what?
Bodily
fluids,
fluids,
personal skin,
or
and
exposure skin.
Okay, so body fluids, personal skin, and non-intact skin. So any holes, right? Think fluids and doorways. Any holes or any fluids, we would want an extra layer of protection. But do we put those gloves on right away as soon as we walk in the room?
No.
What's the first thing our gloves should touch?
Patient.
Why?
Keep them clean.
Yeah, keep those gloves clean for your patients. You're about to touch their doorways. You do not want to bring extra pathogens.
they don't have a good immune system.
That's right. Their immune system is busy. Guys, you look how much you've learned. Their immune system is busy. If we bring new pathogens on board, they may not have the resources to fight them. And that's a real problem. So the first thing our gloves should touch is the patient. But once we touch that patient, now we got cootie covered gloves. We got to be careful about what we're touching in the environment. So do I want to touch that call light with soiled gloves?
No.
Do I want to touch a curtain with soiled gloves?
No.
Do I want to touch that cup of water and hand it to the patient with soiled gloves? Oh, please no. Please no.
Grab a towel.
So yeah, we could use a barrier, or if it's at the end of the skill, we're going to take our gloves off first. Now, when you remove gloves, remember we have to remove them correctly. Dirty glove can touch dirty glove. So I'm going to pull up, take off, go under, take off. Okay, good. All right, so let's talk about privacy. Some skills will require, not every skill. If I'm going to walk a patient, I'm not using a privacy blanket because that doesn't make any sense. So how do we know when we need a privacy blanket?
When it makes sense. When it's when they're uncovered or undressed.
Uncovered or undressed. Yeah, when it makes sense. Absolutely. When they're in bed, uncovered or undressed. Basically, if I can see what mama gave them, I don't need to see what mama gave them. Right? We need to have it covered. Good. Why would we use, certainly the privacy blanket is there for privacy, but does it serve any other purpose as well? Okay, why is that important? Keeping them warm. Why is that
Because
important?
they are older, so they're not. When you get older, your skin's like thinner, I guess.
Right.
Whatever.
So we lose our subcutaneous fat, which holds our body heat in, makes us more susceptible to outside temperatures. But always remember there's a temperature difference in the way you perceive temperature and the patient because you are active and fully clothed. Your patient's laying down in a little gown that doesn't do much. So when you take that sheet away, they're automatically going to feel colder. And I have to bring this to your attention because remember, it's all about the
Patient.
not us. But, day to day, we get wrapped up in our own heads and we don't really pay attention to those things. So remember that your patient's perception of temperature is way different than ours. When we put the blanket on, do you take the sheet off and then put the blanket on?
No.
Okay, so blanket first, sheet comes down underneath. What can we not do with that blanket? Snap it or shake it. Okay. And at the end of the skill, do we remove the privacy blanket before or after we take our gloves off? After, that's right. So we take our gloves off and then take the privacy blanket away. That way we're not touching that sheet that's going to go right up next to their face with dirty gloves. Yep, and wash our hands. Okay. So when we need linens to do any skill, and we have a lot of skills where we use linens, what can't the linens touch? The floor or your uniform. Very good. What kind of hands do we need to get our linens?
Clean.
Clean. Guys, if a principal shows up on 2 of our principals, that means it's really graded heavily. So if you get those linens before you wash your hands, it is very, very detrimental to your score.
So you just throw
So you
them
wash
in
them
the
before
bin
you
and then
grab
wash your
them.
hands and then get them again.
Right, exactly. Very good. So what would you do? What if during the test you get all nervous and you go in and you grab your linens and realize, uh-oh, I didn't do my opening. Can you save those linens?
No.
What do you have to do with them?
Just throw
Put
them
them
in.
in the.
Okay, and then do your opening, wash your hands, and then get new. Okay, good.
And if you do all your linens, the linens are mostly with the patient too, so then you're already interrupting the patient.
Yeah. And it's it kind of takes their ability to say no away. Because if you're going in, getting their linens, and then you go, oh yeah, by the way, can I give you a hand and okay? You've already got it. It's like, well, I can't really say no, can I? So it really takes away their ability to refuse. Clean rolls toward
The dirty rolls away.
and dirty rolls away. Very good. Very good. All right, patients must always be in the
Safe zone.
middle of the bed, safe zone. Very good.
Oh, question. You
Yes.
said, dirty rolls away.
Clean rolls toward me, dirty rolls away.
So can I take the dirty off first and then put the clean? Or we're just do it at one time?
We're gonna roll the dirty toward the patient, tuck it under them, roll the clean toward us, and tuck it under the dirty.
Okay.
Okay. If we are going to turn a patient onto their side, and they have to be in the middle of the bed after the turn, how do we do that? How do we make sure the patient is in the middle of the bed after the turn? What step do we have to take first? Scoot toward me, and then when I roll you, you're in the middle of the bed. Which way do I roll them? Toward me or away from me?
Away.
Because we must remain behind the patient's behind.
Yeah, you don't want them facing your
Yeah,
area.
yeah, you don't want them facing your junk. Ever. All right. Some of our skills require washing. So what do we not put in the basin? Soap, because we need clean water for rinsing. Very good. So if I'm going to get water, you gotta think about all the things I did before. I did my opening, knock, knock, knock. Hi, Miss Jones. My name is Patty. I'm your CNA today. I'm here to do hand and nail care. Is that okay? Close curtain, wash hands, get all my supplies, put my barrier, put my supplies. Now I'm ready to get the water. So can I touch that sink faucet with my hands?
No.
Paper towel.
So I need a paper towel to turn the sink on. That's right. What temperature should the water be?
Warm.
How do I check it?
Wrist as
Ins-
you're doing the faucet.
Okay,
Then
inside,
one
inside of the wrist. And I'm going to get some water in my basin. Doesn't matter how much. Nobody cares. There's no measurement. Not half full, third full, quarter full. Nobody cares. Just get some water. And then you're going to bring it over and have who check it?
Patient.
Not the evaluator?
No, because it's all about the patient.
Ah, good. Very good. Very good. That just happened not too long ago. Somebody brought the water over to the evaluator to check. Would you like to check the water? And the evaluator's like, I'm not here. They never asked the patient to. So be careful about that. Okay. The patient is the one that has to check that temperature. What if the patient complains? Oh no, that's way too cold. Change it. Yeah. Make it warmer. Adjust it for their comfort. Do I get to argue with them?
No.
No. So once the patient okays the water, we're going to let them soak whatever it is that they're going to soak, hand, foot, whatever, or we're going to prepare our washcloths. We're not going to put soap in the basin. Where does the soap go? Directly on the patient?
No.
On the washcloth. Now we want to wring those washcloths out pretty well. We don't want drippy, wet washcloths. That's important. But we'll wring the washcloths out and apply soap to the washcloths. Whatever I wash, I
Rinse.
whatever I rinse, I dry. Don't forget your steps.
Is it always going to be spray?
For the test, yeah, they use spray soap. If not, your pump is the same thing.
Okay.
Same thing. But yeah, for the test, they usually use spray soap. Now I'm gonna kind of time out here for just a second because I want to talk to you about something that we haven't talked about up until now. And that's the difference between different work environments. Okay. If we're working in a assisted living facility, your patient's going to have body wash that you guys use. You know, something from one of the big box stores or the smell good store or whatever, right? Same kind of body wash you use. We wash, we rinse, we dry, no worries. If they are in a nursing home, we may have spray soap, which is a no rinse formula. It doesn't irritate the skin if it gets, we still rinse. But if some of it gets left behind, it's not going to irritate the skin that much because we know that if the patient is in bed, rinsing becomes very, very hard without getting everything all wet. So some stuff is still going to remain on the surface of the skin, even though we're rinsing. So it's a milder formula that doesn't really irritate the skin. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Now, in the hospitals, they used to use that, but they don't anymore. The hospitals now have packages of wipes that are used for bathing patients. So it's a one-step process. The wipes are in a wipe warmer. There's 2 different kinds, and it actually creates a barrier on the skin against pathogens. So it's a really help because remember, hospitals are pathogen-rich environments, right? So these wipes, there's 2 different kinds. One's a little stronger than another, but you have to use them according to the instructions on the back of the package. We start at the face, then we do the body, then we do the legs and the peri area. But there's a certain number of wipes in there, and you're going to follow the instructions for each wipe. Make sense? So every facility that you go to work at is going to have a slightly different process. How would we know when we start work what process your facility uses? The policy and procedure manual. Yeah. So when you start work, you really should be spending a little bit of quality time with that policy and procedure manual for the skills that you know you'll be doing for that.
So I know we don't learn how to like bathe an actual patient. We learn like hand and nail care and foot care. Like, do the facilities just train you on that part then?
We're actually going to learn partial bed bath.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, today. Today. All right. So when we're washing, what do we have to be careful not to get wet? What are we trying to keep from getting wet?
The bed.
Yeah, any of our surfaces. So the bed. What if the sheets get wet during the test? Should you ignore it?
No.
Or at least acknowledge it. I would change the sheets. They're not going to make you actually change the sheets because that's a whole nother skill and we don't have time for that. But they do want you to acknowledge it. I see the sheets are wet. They would be changed.
The floor.
The floor. If you drip water on the floor, take the time to clean it up. If you don't use a barrier on the table and the table gets all wet, dry it off, right? Address it. Don't get your surfaces wet. Don't leave your surfaces wet. So we really want to wring those washcloths out really well so that we don't have a drippy mess.
Now during the test, like if the floor gets wet or something, do you wait until your skill's
And
done?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. If it's right where you need to be, I don't want you slipping during
Yeah.
the test. They don't want you slipping during the test. Grab a cup, just go over, grab a couple of paper towels and just drop them on there.
Okay.
So they soak it up.
They soak it up and it's no longer a slipping hazard for
So they
you.
don't care if you wipe it up or whatever.
Yeah, I wouldn't wipe it up during the skill just because
You'd have to wash your hands and stuff again.
right, you'd have to think about if you're touching the floor, is the floor clean?
No.
So now you've got your hands that have touched the floor. Do we want to touch the patient with those hands?
Yeah.
Right. So just throw some paper towels on there to soak it up. And at the end of the skill, before you wash your hands, wipe it up and throw those paper towels away, then wash your hands. Good? Questions? If we're going to use lotion on any body part, what do we have to do first?
Warm it up in our hands.
What do we do after?
Wipe off.
Okay, wipe off the excess. Good. Basins are easy. They're all cleaned the same way. We simply, for the test, rinse, dry, and store. But when we're drying, we don't want to be touching that basin with our dirty hands or dirty gloves. So we're going to get a paper towel to do that. Paper towel to dry the inside, different one to dry the outside, and then one more to open the drawer. Okay. So basin cleaning, it's the same for everything, absolutely everything. But we have to keep that in mind. You know, for the test, it's just rinse, dry, and store. Where you go to work may have a different policy. For instance, if you go down to Moffitt Cancer Center, we're giving chemo. We're killing an immune system. Literally, that is what chemo does. It kills your immune system, wipes it out. Do we want any pathogens in that environment? So this process may be completely different in a cancer center than it is in the nursing home down the road. So keep that in mind. Remember, our policy and procedure manual is our friend. And then at the end of the skill, we've got a whole bunch of things to do. And if you remember, when we're looking at our skills, doesn't matter which one you look at, they're all, I mean, there's, right? Look how much green and red. Look how much green and red. Look how much green and red. Right? So we have to understand that about a third to a half of all of your checkpoints for the test is going to be checked off during your opening and your closing. So we got to learn these, and we have them for every single skill. So we got to learn these and do them like they are our name. Okay. So there's 6 things that we have to do, and the order doesn't matter. Can somebody give me one of them?
For the closing or opening?
For the closing, call light.
Make sure they're comfortable.
Comfortable. We need to hear that word.
Bed all the way down.
Okay. So safe environment. Preferences.
Make sure the environment's all clean and tidy.
Clean. Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Put the bed in the lowest position.
Okay. Bed in the lowest position.
Document if you need to.
We're not quite there yet, but yes, we're going to do that.
Open the privacy.
Curtain. Yeah. Curtain. All right. So our closing should sound something like that. I always thank my patients because they're the reason I have a job and I get a paycheck and can pay my bills.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Miss Jones. Is there anything else that you need? Can I get you a magazine or something before I go? Are you comfortable? Your environment is clean. Your bed is low and in the safe position. Here's your call light. I'm going to open the privacy curtain. Take one last look around. Everything is good. Then I'm going to go clean my
Hands.
chart if necessary. And then at the end of the skill,
Wash clean hands.
I'm going to clean my hands again because our standard is in skill with clean hands. Okay. So you guys are all ready to take the test. These are the things that they're actually grading you on. The little bits for the actual skill itself, those are only like a couple of checkpoints. Everything else is checked off in what we just talked about. So you now know 90% of all of the skills that you're going to have to perform. You, during the test, would never look at a patient that's totally uncovered, undressed, exposed to the world, and think, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. You would automatically go, privacy blanket, they're exposed, hold up. And if you'd forgotten, you could say, correction, I would have put a privacy blanket on before I exposed that patient, right? So you have the knowledge. Now all we have to do is apply that knowledge.
This thing with the wheelchair is part of the.
We're going to learn wheelchair. Yep. We have wheelchair, I think, is on Wednesday. Let me look here.
We're gonna go back over. You said range of motion with elbows.
Yeah, we still have range of motion. We have one to learn today, and I'm going to go over range of motion. The other 2, it's literally 2 minutes of instruction. So yeah, we'll get to those.
So did you say the vocabulary is probably not going to be on the test? It's just for us to know and understand.
Yeah, so vocabulary, let's talk about vocabulary real quick, but let me get to, yes, Wednesday we're doing wheelchair. So let's talk about vocabulary. There is nothing on the state exam that's going to say, what is a decubitus ulcer? That nothing on the test is going to ask you, what is a decubitus ulcer? Now, you may have something that says you are caring for a patient with a decubitus ulcer, which is a bed sore, guys.
Oh, yeah.
And next to it, it would actually say, in parentheses, bed sore or pressure sore.
Oh yeah, you said action.
And it would say, you're changing this patient's linens. What is an important consideration when performing this skill? Ready? A, turn the patient toward you. B, apply a light dressing to the area before performing the skill. C, make sure that the sheets are wrinkle-free. Or D, wash the area with bleach.
Not that.
Okay, C was make sure the sheets are wrinkle-free. What did we learn about wrinkles and pressure?
They can
Okay, so if we already have a bed sore in place, the patient's at risk for bed sores. Therefore, if we have wrinkles in the sheets, it's going to make it worse. So we don't do dressings, not our job. So that answer is asking, do you know your scope of practice? Okay, bleach? No. Don't choose that answer because that just puts your patient at risk, right? And I forgot what. Oh, turn the patient towards you. That violates our principles. So you even not knowing the answer, you could go through those three, and go that's not right. I know I don't turn the patient toward me. Get rid of that answer. Okay, dressings, that's not us. Not my scope of practice. Get rid of that answer. Bleach, that doesn't sound right. But wrinkle-free or bleach, which one did we learn about? Therefore, it would be wrinkle-free. Do you guys see how to break down those questions and try to get rid of the answers that don't work? And then out of the ones that are left, which ones did we learn about? Because I guarantee you, everything that you need to know, we are going over. If I didn't talk about it or you didn't read it, it is not in your scope of practice.
And if a lot of times if you learned in like school and stuff, if you like do cross elimination, like you cross it out so you don't like go back to it, can you do that on the test? Or is it like a scan trauma that
It's a written test on the computer.
Oh yeah, so you can do that.
So you can ask, they do have dry erase boards for notes. So you can, on the dry erase board, put A, B, C, D, and then just cross it out. And then erase it and go to the next question. So yes, they do have dry erase boards. Or scratch paper and a pencil, either one. It depends on your testing center. All right, so anybody have any questions on this? All right, remember I said this is 90% of everything you're going to learn how to do are the principles that we've learned. So now let's review some of the skills that we learned. I know it was a long time ago, like a whole week. But let's go through some of the skills. So when we're taking a pulse, what are we going to support? The wrist. Very good. Pulse rates are always reported over what period of time? 1 minute. What's a normal pulse rate? 60 to 100. Yep. What areas of our fingers should we use? Flat or tips? Tips. And what finger can we not use to take our pulse? The thumb. All right. Where's the radial pulse located? On the thumb side or the pinky side? Thumb side. Remember, it's way up at the top by the line, bendy part, right? Not down here, way up here. I didn't turn that off. I'm so sorry. When we are When we're counting with the evaluators, they have to know when we start counting and when we stop counting. Because remember, they're on the other hand. They got to start and stop when we do. So how do they know when we start and when we stop? Yeah, you say it out. You can count out loud if you want to, but you just say start and stop.
And for like the full 1 minute, it's always based on the care plan, so it all
Always based on the care plan, but for the test, the care plan will be one full minute because what you have in your book is the testing care plans. Okay. And then in Florida, how many evaluators do we count with? Two. And at the end of the scale, what do we remember? Yeah. What do we need to remember to do at the end of this scale? We counted something. So what do we need to do? Write it down. Yeah. That's the step, honestly, that is missed most often with Pulse, is that people forget to write it down.
Do we have somewhere to write it when we do the test?
For the test, you're going to have the, there it is. You're going to have a documentation sheet. Oh, that's okay. You can use it. This is the documentation sheet.
This is the only one that does documentation, isn't it?
No, there's 4 documentation
Okay,
skills. There's
okay.
pulse, respirations,
Gotcha.
feeding. No, blood pressure is not on the state exam. We don't have to do that one for the test.
Oh.
So pulse, respirations, feeding, and emptying the drainage bag, the catheter bag.
Oh, okay.
Those are the 4 documentation skills. This is a sample documentation sheet. Here I put all of the documentation on one sheet just so that we're conserving paper. But in your book, if you turn the page, I think it's 168 and 169, you will actually see the documentation forms that are used on the state exam.
I wasn't here last Monday. Did we learn catheter?
No,
Okay.
no. Catheter will be learning next week on Monday.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, catheter care and emptying the drainage bag will be going over on Monday.
So it's all different.
So there's one there for pulse, the first one. There's one for respirations. There's one for feeding. And there's one for the intake and output, which is our drainage bag. Okay? But this is always in here for you guys to practice with.
Now the food and fluid one.
We're getting there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We'll go over that. I think that one's next Monday too.
Gotcha.
Resident in chair is Wednesday.
What's that? 3. Yeah. So in your book on page 25 are the actual testing care plan sets with the 3 skills. Page 25. On these sets, there's 1 ADL skill, 1 mobility skill, and 1 documentation skill.
Do you know which set you're getting, or is it just random?
It's not random, actually. It's through the computer. The computer assigns your skill set,
Okay.
and you won't find out until right before you perform the skills.
Gotcha. Okay.
So let's look at the first one real quick. Let's look at the first one on page 25. So page 25, the first clipboard that you see. Which one of those skills? Now we have measure, record respirations, perform passive range of motion to the hip, knee, and ankle, and dress a resident with a weak arm. So let's look at these and figure out which one would be an ADL. So activities of daily living. Out of these 3, which is something that you would do for yourself every day? Do you
Dress
take your
resident?
dress resident? So that is an ADL skill. Which one involves moving something? Range of motion. So that's your mobility skill. And which one would we have to record something, write something down? Respirations. So that's your documentation skill.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go to the last one. Measure and record contents of urinary drainage bag. Transfer resident from bed to wheelchair. and perform hand and nail care. Which one of those would be an ADL skill?
Hand and nail care.
Hand and nail care. Which one would be a documentation skill?
The urinary bag.
Urinary drainage bag. And which one involves you moving the patient?
The second one.
Yeah, transfer. So you guys see that? So each one of these clipboards has an ADL skill, a mobility skill, and a documentation
And you
skill.
said we'd just be getting one of these clipboards?
One of those
Gotcha.
clipboards.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. Questions?
So you're saying, so at least if we know which one's which, you know you have 3 steps.
You have 3 skills to do.
Skills.
So you're going to have 1 ADL, 1 mobility, and 1 documentation. But these are how they're split up on the test. These are the actual testing care. You will get one of these 11.
Okay, so once you hear the first skill, you'll probably know what the rest of them
Not
are.
necessarily, because some of these show up on more than one care plan.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Measuring the core forces 3.
Yeah. And if you look at number 1, number 7, they all start the same. Pulse starts 3 of them. So just because you see the first one doesn't necessarily mean that you know the whole set,
Right.
because some of them show up on more than one.
Okay. 31.
Okay, so what those numbers are at the top, do you see the number in the clock? That's the amount of time that you're going to have to perform those 3 skills.
You know what I mean? Like,
Oh.
for like, can you go over that one? Like, to know which skill would be which, like mobility and stuff.
Yeah, we aren't done learning all the skills yet.
Okay.
So we have learned respiration, measure record respirations. We have learned how to dress a resident with a weak arm. We're going to learn range of motion today. But we still have skills to learn on Wednesday and Monday. So we still have 3, counting today, 3 more days of skills to learn. So a lot of stuff to go over still. But let's talk about the time. So if you look in the top right-hand corner of each one of those clipboards, you'll see a number. 31, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, and 39. You guys see that? So let's figure out what that means. If you go to page 71 in your book, let me explain to you what this means. So for the test, it's not an automatic fail, no. So for the test, you're going to get your care plan with 3 skills like this. Okay.
So we only perform only 3 skills?
You're only going to perform these 3 skills. This is it. Yeah. So this is the same thing as what you have on page 25. It's just laminated in different colors so I can find it. Okay. For the test, they will be yellow as well. So you get this skill set. Let's say you get skill set 10. The evaluators are going to tell you you have 36 minutes to do these 3 skills. Now, let me explain to you how they come up with that number and what happens if you go over it. Okay. So at the bottom of each skills page, so just turn one page to page 73 and look, or 72, I'm sorry, and look at the bottom. How much time should somebody with your level of experience be able to perform this skill in?
11 minutes.
11 minutes. So for the test, they aren't going to tell you have 11 minutes to do this one, 5 minutes to do this one, 6 minutes. They don't do that. They just give you one total time, and they give you way more time than you need. So let's go through. Give me a number 1 to 11.
7.
7. Okay. So the computer randomly picks skill set 7 for us. And our skills are feeding a resident who's in a chair, provide hand and nail care, and ambulate a resident using a gait belt. So let's figure out how much time we're going to have to do these 3 skills. On page 71, in the middle of the first column, you'll see a chart that has all the skills and the time. So can you guys take a look and see how much time feeding should be able to be done in?
9 minutes.
9 minutes. Okay. What about hand and nail care?
11 minutes.
So 9 plus 11 is 20. What about ambulate?
5 minutes. 5.
Okay, so 25 minutes.
And they've given you 36,
Yeah, 33.
33.
Yep. So 25.
You have more than enough time.
So where's the extra time come in? Well, they're going to give you 3 minutes for hand washing. So your hand washing doesn't even count in that time for the skills. They give you 3 extra minutes for hand washing. And then they give you 5 additional minutes for thinking. They call it transition time, but really it's thinking time. Okay, so we have 9 minutes, 11 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, and 5 minutes, and all together that makes up 33. So at the beginning of the skill, they're going to say you have 33 minutes to do these 3 skills. Don't rush. You've got plenty of time, way more than you actually need. But at the 5 minute before the end mark. So in this case, if we have 33 minutes to do this skill, at 28 minutes, they're going to tell you 5-minute warning. 5-minute warning. Okay. So you're not going to like run out without you knowing about it. 5-minute warning. This is where what I've taught you becomes super important. Remember this? Right? How much red is on there?
A lot.
Okay, so we want to get that closing done, don't we? Because most of our check marks are going to come through our opening and closing. So if you get to that 5-minute warning, you need to get to your closing and get it done. Make sense? Quick. Supersonic speed. Race. Go fast. Remember, it's, take care of your patient, but go fast. Because you really want to get that closing done, because most of your check marks are going to come through that. Okay, good.
So do you do all 3 skills and just do the opening and closing once, or do you do it 3 times?
3 times.
Okay.
So you're going to do opening, skill 1, closing.
Okay. Yep.
Opening, skill 2, closing. Opening, skill 3, closing. And then you'll go out to the waiting room and wait for the next group to get done and eventually get to the written test, and then you'll get to go home.
You don't have to wash your hands after each part because they want to save time, correct?
You'll wash your hands at the first skill. So at the beginning, opening, wash hands, skill, closing, wash hands. At that point, they're going to tell you can simulate hand washing. And then it's opening, say you washed hands, skill, closing, say you washed hands, and your skill.
So the first one, of course, you're gonna wash your hands, whatever, because you're performing the first skill. But they're gonna let you skip, you have to say.
You have to say, and don't simulate until they tell you to.
What is after reading the camp plan and while you're doing your skill and then you forgot the part of the camp plan what it said, can you go back and
This care plan is physically handed to you. It's yours. So you can go back and look at it anytime you want to. Anytime. They don't expect you to memorize it.
A folder like that, or
Yeah, it's actually just like this, except I make mine a little prettier. That really is. It's on gold paper. The 3 skills are written just like this. Yours won't have the time under it like this, but it has the same words. Okay, I just make mine prettier. I'm all about color. Can you tell? I'm all about color. I like color. I think it's bright and happy. I like to be bright and happy. The world is depressing enough. All right. So let's remind ourselves how to dress a resident with a weak arm. So what do we need to ask our patient? What they want to wear. Sure. If they come up with something crazy off the wall, it doesn't go together, what do you want to do?
Redirect them.
Yeah, you can make a suggestion, certainly. But what if they say, no, I want what I want.
Let them wear what they want.
Sure, no problem. Let me get that for you.
Just make sure the hair and everything else looks good, because then, yeah.
That's right, because you're being judged. You are being judged by the way your patient looks. Very good. When do we want to get our clothing? Before or after we undress our patient?
Before.
Why?
That way they're
They're
not
not
just laying there.
exposed.
Yeah. When we lift an extremity, do we lift from above?
No.
Like the claw machine at Walmart? Underneath. And we want to support with a flat palm. So that way that we're not dropping the extremity and we're not digging in to cause injury. As we lift, should we lift from like here?
No.
We want to support at the bottom and joints. Yeah, the floppy parts. Okay. USA first. What does that stand for?
Use strong arm first.
Okay. Not use. You're close. Undress. Undress strong arm first. And then dress weak arm first. And this lets the garment just slide right off the weak arm and back on the weak arm without a lot of movement required. We don't want to overextend or force movement. Remember our broken foot, right? And we want to adjust what? What do we want to adjust here? Do we want them all cattywampus? Buttons, yeah. We want our snaps or buttons to be fastened appropriately. We also want the pants over the butt and at the waist. So basically, we want our patients to look neat. We want the clothing to look nice. A little bit of time pays off here.
If you have like a really big patient where they can't move themselves at all, can you ask for assistance to help them?
Sure, absolutely. If you don't feel that you can do it on your own, you should be asking for assistance because otherwise we're putting our patients at risk. But in general, if we've got somebody that large that can't move on their own, we're not dressing them in actual clothing. It would be a gown of some sort.
Okay.
So it doesn't do anybody any good. If they're not moving and they're not getting out of bed, there's no need to get them completely dressed. But that would be a care plan issue.
Yeah. And then nurse issue too.
Yep. So where do we want to put our dirty items after we use them? In the hamper. And on the floor, maybe?
No.
No. Okay. And what hand should the call light go in?
The strong.
Stronger hand. Okay. So when we're doing hand and nail care, again, we want to support. You notice support showing up a lot, right? So we want to support that hand and wrist as we move it. We want to soak the hand in water. We want to wash, whatever we wash, whatever we rinse, we dry. Okay. And when we're going to clean and file the nails, we don't want to just have that hand kind of hanging out. We want to lay it on the towel. So it's a nice soft surface for our patient. We're going to clean under the nails with an orange stick. Which end should we use? The pointy end or the slanted end? Slanted end. And we want to wipe that off in between each nail so we're not transferring dirt from one nail to another. When we file, we're going to go in one direction toward the center. Very good. And then we're going to put lotion on before or after we wash a hand? After. Yeah, last. That makes sense, right? Lotion goes on. Remember, L's. Lotion is always last.
So just do whatever you would do to yourself.
And warm it up.
Absolutely. We're going to warm it up. And what are we going to do after we put it on? Wipe off the excess. Very good. Very good. All right. Making an occupied bed. Where does the patient need to be in the bed?
In the middle.
Middle, always. But when we're making an occupied bed, we don't want the patient on their back in the middle of the bed because they take up too much of our space. We're trying to change a sheet here. We want them to take up as little space as possible, so we want to put them on their side. That means we're going to have to scoot them toward us and roll them away. Then we're going to change the sheet on the side that we're on. Clean rolls toward us, dirty rolls away. So we're going to roll that dirty sheet toward the patient, tuck it all up under them. Do we ever let them lay on a bare mattress?
No.
No, we're going to put the clean sheet on, roll it toward us, and tuck it under the dirty. Put them back on their back to the middle, go around to the other side, do it all over again. Okay. The top sheet will go on. And we're going to get the corners of the sheet off the floor by making what kind of corners? They don't have to be pretty. They don't have to be perfect. But we want those corners under the mattress.
Do they do that so also the patient can't trip if they go off the bed?
Right. That's a big part of it. But you want to know the real reason we're doing it? So way back when, way back in the way back, we didn't have air conditioning. And in hospitals and other medical centers, we had the windows open so that we had air circulation. Well, if you have windows open, that means critters can come in.
Rats.
And if critters come in, we don't want the sheets near the floor where those critters can crawl up the sheets and into bed with the patient. That's why we use hospital corners. We don't want critters. But it's not just the critters we can see. What about the critters we can't? They're still around.
But you have windows open, but they make sure windows can't get open in hospitals now because it's a safety thing. So
Right.
do you keep that a safety thing for patients not to just jump out?
Well, a million years ago, we had no AC. Remember, AC wasn't a thing up until like the 50s, 60s, not that long ago.
So how do you keep patients from not jumping out?
You didn't?
You didn't.
So that's why stuff happened when it happened.
Sure.
That's
Sure.
great. I'm glad that we have AC now.
Great. Great.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of rare. I mean, most patients don't, if they're in the hospital, they're there because they want to get better. They're not like, you know,
Unless it's like a word. Yeah.
psych ward, certainly. Or if they got a terminal diagnosis.
Yeah.
Right? That's very upsetting. Kind of have to settle into that. But that's very, very, very rare. But yeah, there wasn't a whole lot we could do about safety in that situation. You can't have a bunch of germs in that setting without some sort of air circulation. So if we didn't have AC, that means we had to use natural air. There are some parts of the world right now, current day, that don't have AC in their hospital settings. So hospital corners are important.
Yeah. Because I'm from the island and we don't have AC in our hospitals.
Yeah, very true. Very true. We tend to be spoiled in America and we don't really think about things beyond our borders very often. A lot of mission trips. There's a lot of healthcare mission trips and you will see, things that really make you grateful for what we have. Very grateful. All right. So when we put the top sheet on and we've made those hospital corners, that's going to press the patient's feet down a little bit. So we probably ought to loosen that sheet so their toes have some wiggle room so they're not pressed forward. And we're going to replace the pillowcase. But where should the pillowcase face when we put it back on the bed? Anybody catch this in the video? You want the pillowcase to face away from the door.
Oh
yeah,
the
for
whole
the neatness.
Neatness, but also pathogens. A lot of people walking up and down that hallway, patients, staff,
The air's
visitors.
pushing it in, and
Yeah.
it's right into the pillow.
Yeah, if that pillowcase is open, remember people in bed tend to drool when they sleep, right? So underneath that pillow is warm, dark,
And
moist. So we don't want pathogens inside the pillowcase. So turning that pillow around so the opening faces away from the door can actually help with pathogen. Something that simple, isn't that crazy? Can actually help with pathogen transfer. It's not a tested checkpoint.
So we're gonna do it anyways.
But I still want, because I might be the body in the bed one day, and I'd like to be as safe as I can in that environment.
So I used to do housekeeping, so I know how to fold the pillowcase on the inside of it. Can we do that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
You can. It's not required, but you can. Yeah, it's the envelope.
Yeah.
The pillowcase envelope. Yeah. We don't have to do that. And I try not to complicate with things that aren't required. But that's a really good thing to know how to do for sure. All right, sideline position. So we're going to turn our patient over. They can't turn themselves. So furthest arm goes
Up.
I'm sorry. Furthest arm goes up. Closest arm,
Over.
closest knee bends. Furthest knee gets angled out. And then we'll turn the patient over. And it doesn't take any effort at all. But once we get them on their side, we got to keep them there somehow. So we're going to put a pillow behind there,
Back,
one between there,
legs, and
one under the,
arm,
and don't forget the one under the
head.
head. Adjust that so that the shoulder's not laying on it. Call light goes in the bottom hand for this one. All of our other rules apply. Right, so we're still going to use a barrier. We're still going to use a privacy blanket. We still use scoot before we roll, right? All of those things still exist. Foot care. Oh, we learned a lot. Foot care. Foot care is all about looking at the foot. That's why we're there. It's not to wash it. We're washing it as an excuse to be there. Okay. So we're going to support the foot while we move it, just like we supported the arm for hand and nail care. We're going to wash, rinse, and dry everywhere. We're not going to put what between the toes? Lotion between the toes. We're going to look at all surfaces of the foot. We'll replace no bare feet on the floor. Use the barrier. We'll replace the patient's sock and shoe. Remember, they don't have clean ones hanging around for us. So put their sock and shoe back on. And when you put the sock on, make sure there's no wrinkles and the toe seam is along the toes. They're looking for that. Have you ever put your sock on funny?
Yes.
And when you're walking, it like rubs and it's really annoying. It'll ruin your whole day. A sock put on wrong can ruin your whole day.
Or a wet sock.
What's that?
Or a wet sock.
Oh, wet socks are horrible. Yeah, I have a little beagle mix and I walk him every night. And I have a pair of socks that I don't particularly like because they slip off. They don't they're kind of stretched out. They slip off. So we walk about 3/4 mile. So I got like maybe a 1/4 mile in and the sock slipped off. So now I got a sock bunched up in my shoe and I'm trying to walk a 1/2 mile with a sock bunched up in my shoe. And it was uncomfortable. I couldn't concentrate on anything but that sock inside my shoe. Right? So if we don't get this on right, what is your patient going to be fixated on?
The sock.
The sock. Save yourself some aggravation.
Pushing my call light.
Yeah, absolutely. Save yourself the aggravation. Absolutely. All right, mouth care. Don't overthink this. We're just brushing teeth, guys. Don't overthink this. Don't overthink this. What position does your patient need to be in if we're going to brush their teeth, though? Fully upright. You want to protect their clothing. What do we need to do with the toothbrush before we put toothpaste on it? Wet it. Okay. We're going to brush. That's it. Just brush. Top, bottom, front, back, and tongue. Brush. Let them rinse as often as they need to. But here's a hint. Don't use a lot of toothpaste. Just a little bit. Little pea-sized amount. If you use a lot of toothpaste, like some of you guys like a whole stripe of toothpaste, you do that to a patient, they're going to be rinsing for the next 10 minutes to get it all out. Just a little dab will do you. Okay. And then you let them rinse and spit and make sure that you're wiping off their mouth afterwards. You can use the towel that's on their chest. There's no problem with that. But make sure you leave them dry at the end of the skill. All right. Respirations. What do we not want to tell our patient? Now we're counting their breathing. Absolutely. You can use an alcohol pad to make this a little bit easier for you if you want. What is our normal values for respirations? 12 to 20. Okay. And just like pulse, we're going to say start. When we start to count, we're going to say stop. When we end counting, in and out is counted as one full cycle. Yeah. Doesn't matter where you start, on the in, on the middle, on the out, doesn't matter. It all counts as one. Okay.
So we have to count and we have to watch our time at the same time.
Right, but you're just going to glance at the clock periodically. Remember, a minute was a very long time. So you're just going to glance up every so often because there's going to be a clock above the bed.
gonna be like that type of clock, or
Yep, just like this. Just like this. If you have trouble reading these clocks, I know a lot of people have. This isn't being taught in schools anymore, apparently. Regular
No, it's
clocks. It's all digital. So if you have trouble reading these, you can use a digital watch for the test, but it can't be a smartwatch. You have to go to like one of those big box stores and just buy a cheap $5 digital watch. No smartwatches. And you can't. Yeah, you can't use your phone either.
Good question. If you like during the exam, if you say start and then you like lose track of your time, will they stop you? Will they
No,
stop
they're
you
not
a
gonna
minute?
stop you, no.
Okay.
No. But you can restart that skill if you need to. Remember, you've got lots and lots and lots of extra minutes, right? So if we're counting and we lose track of what we're my mind, guys, my brain picks daisies. It does. I have got so many things on my brain at all times. It's just like this huge big whirlwind going on in there. And if it's quiet for a minute, I'm off doing something. My brain is doing something else. I'm writing a book. I'm, creating slides. I'm doing my brain is just doing stuff, right? So you make me try to count for one full minute, and my brain's going to have a really hard time focusing. So I really have to work hard at this. And it's not uncommon for me to lose track, 8, because there's a lot of time between 9. I know it's for lunch.
That would be
And then I realized, oh my gosh, I forgot to count.
Yeah.
So I would stop right then. I'm so sorry, Miss Jones. I need to recount. My brain went and picked daisies. Let's start again. Ready? Start. And now I'm really trying to make my brain pay attention, because those evaluators want to be at home in their pool, drinking their Mai Tais, right? So I'm really going to focus. But yeah, I have that problem, and I know I have that problem. I am way happier when I'm knee deep in a project that's taking all of my brain power. You let my brain be quiet for a minute, and trouble is going to come knocking. I just will. So I know that about myself. So I have to employ strategies to keep me on track. If you're like that, you need to practice this to keep you on track. But you can restart if you need to.
They won't judge you.
They don't judge you.
Watch.
No.
Just to make your life easier, so that's one less stress you have to worry
I
about.
was gonna
They
say,
don't judge
Can
you.
you do can you put a timer on your digital?
Yeah.
If you brought a
Digital watch, yeah.
Put a timer on that.
You can.
Okay.
There's
No.
no problem with that.
Now I know that you're not supposed to touch it. What if you touch your watch and then you want to do your vitals? Do you have to wash your hands or anything? It's kind of difficult.
Grab a paper towel. You can use a paper towel for anything.
Or glove.
Or glove. Yeah. And then take it off before you touch your patient. A barrier of some kind. But if you just washed your hands and you washed around your watch, get a waterproof one.
Yeah.
Then it won't be a problem.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I was going to ask if CNAs take temperature, but that's the nurse's job.
No, it's actually CNAs can take temperature, and chapter 6 or 7, I think 7, goes into taking temperature. It's not something that's on the state exam. You won't be doing it for the test, but chapter 7 does go into the different types of temperature, what normals are, and how to take temperatures in various areas. As CNAs, we generally focus on oral temperature, and I think your book even talks a little bit about radiant temperature, where you use a non-contact thermometer on the forehead. Yeah, that's a radiant. We used to do tympanic temperatures a lot, which is in the ear. The problem is that if you have a lot of earwax buildup, and a lot of people do, it alters the temperature reading. So you're not getting a real accurate reading. So tympanic isn't as common as it used to be. Years ago, that's all we used, really. Oral is the most accurate as long as the patient hasn't ate, drank, or exercised in the last 15 minutes. You don't want somebody that's been outside throwing a football around and then you take their temperature, because That activity gets the heart rate pumping, right? Remember, our furnace is creating heat, right? Right? When the heart pumps, it distributes that heat around the body much more rapidly. So if we've been exercising, what do you think is going to happen to our temperature?
It's gonna go up.
It's going to go up a little bit. Is that going to be accurate?
No.
No. So if somebody's been eating or drinking or smoking or exercising, give them a good 15 minutes to calm down before you take their temp. All right. So we're going to get to range of motion in just a minute. Let's go ahead and do range of motion, then we'll take our break. This is going to be on page 80. We will start with range of motion, hip, knee, and ankle. Now, I know that we haven't done range of motion yet. We are going to learn 3 range of motion skills. We have range of motion shoulder, we have range of motion elbow and wrist, and we have range of motion hip, knee, and ankle. 3 separate skills. Okay, 3 separate skills. Thankfully, these are the easiest skills that we learn. Super easy. Each of them take less than 2 minutes to do. The test gives you, I think, 4. 4 or 5?
It's 4.
4.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah, the test gives you 4. It's like super, super quick. Okay. So that's why I said I'm not worried about falling behind on range of motion because this is a pretty easy one. But in order to learn how to do range of motion, we kind of have to learn a little bit about what range of motion is. And that's what I want to talk to you about now. I have a whole lecture on this on class 2, but I'm not going to bring up those slides. We'll do this verbally. Okay. So, in medicine, there are 2 reasons that we would do exercise. Your mind is going to get stuck on the first one. Okay. And that's just because of the setting that we're in. In medicine, we tend to think that everything we do is based on getting somebody better. It's just kind of our mindset, right? If we're doing exercises, it must mean that we're trying to improve something, make something better. When you exercise in your daily lives, you're not really trying to make anything better. You're just trying to kind of keep the status quo, right? Little brisk walk, maybe 20 minutes in the gym. You're just trying to maintain what you've got. That's all range of motion is. It's maintaining the current level of function in our patients. Remember we talked about immobility? We talked about all the effects of immobility and all the negative things that immobility causes in the body. Well, when our patients are sick, even if they're not immobile, they're probably less active than they normally are. Just because of the fact that they're sick. So that means that we have to put some strategy in place so that when they go home with the same level of ability that they left home with. If we don't do that, when somebody goes home, they're going to be way weaker than they were. And they may not be able to remain independent. And that's sad. So physical therapy will do exercises to regain function, make something better. CNAs do exercises to maintain function.
Keep it working.
Keep it working. So we don't do pain. If the patient gets their arm up here and says, ow,
Tell the nurse.
yeah, the next one will go below the ow because we don't like ow. That's not us. And we're going to let the nurse know, hey, we got here and got ow. Go figure out why. Not my job, right? So we have to understand that we don't do pain. We only go up to the point of pain or resistance. That's it. Or hopefully a full range of motion. That would be ideal. So understanding why you're doing range of motion is a really big part of range of motion. CNAs only do 3 exercises. That's it. That's all we do. 3 exercises. We do up, down, side to side, and around. There's a technical term for each one of those that we're going to learn. Where is, oh, I don't have it. Okay. Yeah, I don't have it. Okay. All right, so we have 3 exercises to do that we can do. One of them, let me give you your notes. Hold on one second. Go to 74. So 74 and 75 are our notes for this particular skill. If you look on 75 in the first column, about a third of the way down, you're going to see the 3 exercises. Up, down is called flexion extension. That's an up-down motion. So if I asked all of you to extend your left arm above your head like you're asking a question, go ahead and do that. Extend your left arm, get that elbow nice and straight, reach for the sky. Bring it all the way down in front of you, just like this. Let's do it again. Let's bring it up, all the way up and all the way back down. Let's go one more time, all the way up and all the way back down. That was flexion extension. Now, what we just did is a type of range of motion called active range of motion. I told you what to do, but you're the one that did the work. You were actively performing the skill. So what do you think passive means?
Made you help.
That's right. That means we're going to help. The patient isn't actively doing it on their own. We are going to help. So for the test, we are going to perform passive range of motion. We're going to do the work. We should be watching our patient for any signs of pain, stiffness, wincing, yelling, any of those things. And we have to know which exercises to do. We'll get there in a minute. But flexion extension is an up-down motion. Now, abduction, adduction is a side-to-side motion. But what's unique here, what's strange, is that the hand ends up in the same place if you're doing range of motion on the shoulders. Let me show you. Remember we did flexion extension? I had you bring your arm in front of you, right, straight up. See where my hand is? Back down, that was flexion extension. Abduction, adduction, I'm going to go to the side. But look where my hand ends up. Same place. But it's going to work different muscles. So those two, even though the hand ends up in the same place, it's actually a different muscle group that we're exercising. Okay, so what do you think if flexion extension is up, down, and abduction, adduction is side to side, what do you think rotation is? Yeah, around. Sure, around. So a lot of people think rotation of the shoulder is like that, right? Like a pitcher windup, right? That's what we think when we think around. It's actually not. Everybody stand up a second. Let me show you. If you bring your arm out to the side, palm up. Try not to knock out your neighbor. Now, roll your arm so your palm up backwards.
Oh, wow.
That's rotation?
That's rotation of the shoulder joint.
I was going to say, I got my shoulder pop.
Yeah, if you are snap, cracking, and popping, you probably want to work this into your daily routine.
Gotcha. Noted.
So, yeah, okay, go ahead and have a seat.
Oh, no, I'm still cracking.
So, rotation is actually more of a rolling motion.
That's safer than doing the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good? Makes sense?
That's what built them.
Okay, so up, down is flexion, extension. Abduction, adduction is side to side, and rotation is around. U-S-A. Up, down, side, side, around.
Look at that.
Another USA. Now, I want to talk to you about abduction, adduction real quick, because a lot of people look at those words and immediately freak out because they're really big. So when you abduct a child, don't do that, it's bad. But when you abduct a child, you take it away from its family. When you abduct an extremity, you take it away from its family. Adduct, ADD, brings it back to. So abduction, adduction is just moving something from the midline of the body and back toward. 2 halves of one exercise. Good? Make sense? So, how would we know which of these 3 exercises this patient needs?
Care plan.
How would we know how many repetitions of these exercises that this patient needs? Okay. Do you guys see why we learned about the care plan day 1, hour 1?
I can't stop thinking about it.
So for the test, if you go and you follow the care plan,
Pretty much gonna pass.
you're going to pass. And if you remember on day 1, I told you, you now have all the information you need to pass the state exam. And you went, no, I don't. Ah! But you really did. If we follow the principles that we've learned and we follow the care plan that tells us how to do that on her, we're going to pass. That's why I said you guys are ready for the test. You just don't know it yet. All right. So this care plan at the top page 81 tells us to provide the following range of motion exercise to the resident's right hip, knee, and ankle. So which body part am I working on?
Right hip.
Right hip, knee, and ankle. All right. Can I do left 2 on there?
No.
Okay. The exercise that we're doing here is flexion extension. That's an up-down motion. So that's it. Hip, knee, up, down 3 times. Ankle, up, down 3 times. Put an opening and a closing in there. That's the whole skill. That's it. Yeah, super easy, right? Super easy. It says to provide 3 repetitions of this exercise, and the resident is not able to help with exercises. So super easy here, guys. Oops. But the hip itself is a 2-for-1 exercise, so it makes it even easier. And that's because the hip and the knee are going to be exercised together. So here, you guys see? Here you've got a hip and we've got a knee. Flexion extension, remember, is a bending. So when we bring the knee up to the chest, we're bending the hip and the knee at the same time. You need to do it this way. And the reason is that if you, remember we talked about our bodies being hardwired with nerves, right? If I hurt my toe, it has to travel up the nerve to my brain for my brain to know about it. You guys remember that? That nerve that runs from my foot up the back of my leg, up my hip, into my back, all the way up to my brain, it's already pulled pretty tight. And as we get older, it kind of shrinks a little bit and it gets pulled a little tighter. So we end up with a condition called sciatica. Anybody ever hear that? Sciatica? That's an irritation of the nerve that goes from the leg to the brain. And it's because as we age, everything kind of ages with us, and that nerve gets pulled pretty tight. Now, remember where that nerve is. If I, whoops, okay. If I come over here and I lift this person's leg straight up, that actually pulls that nerve super tight and it's going to hurt them. If I bend the knee, it relieves the pressure on that nerve. So when we exercise the hip and the knee, we always do it together, bend the hip and the knee, so that we're not pulling that cord super tight. Good? Make sense? Now the ankle, that's just simple. That's forward, back, ankle, 3 times. Super easy. But when we do that, that heel is going to scrape on the sheet. Do we really want to? Really want a heel to scrape on the sheet? No, So what we want to do is get that foot off of the bed a little bit so that when we bend it forward and back, it's not scraping against the sheet. Make sense? So this skill, knock, knock, knock. Hi, Miss Jones. My name is Patty. I'm your CNA today. I'm here to do some exercises. Is that okay? Close curtain, wash hands. No supplies are necessary. I'm going to go to the patient. I'm going to lift the leg up, bend the knee to the chest, and all the way back down to the bed 3 times because that's what my care plan tells me to do. Then I'm going to lift the leg up off the bed just a little bit so the heel isn't on the bed and bend the foot forward 3 times because that's what my care plan told me to do. And then I'm going to do my closing. Thank you very much, Miss Jones. Is there anything else I can get for you? Are you comfortable? Your environment's clean. Your bed is low. Open the curtain. Here's your call light. Go wash my hands. My skill is done. The opening and the closing take way more time than the actual skill. Good? Questions on this one? Questions? Okay. Range of motions are very quick skills, very easy skills, should be done in less than 4 minutes. We will learn 2 more, but not today. So let me show you this video. Oh, I gotta.
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Jones. My name is Patty. I'm your CNA today. How are you?
Doing great. How about you?
Wonderful. I need to do some exercises on your right hip, knee, and ankle. Is that okay?
Yes.
I'm going to close your curtain. Let me go wash my hands, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to do all the work. All you have to do is let me know if there's any pain or discomfort as we do this, okay?
Okay.
The first exercise is going to bend your knee up to your chest and back down to the bed like you're climbing stairs.
Okay.
We'll do this 3 times.
Okay.
Please let me know if there's any pain.
All right.
I'm going to support under the knee and under the ankle, and we're going to lift and bend all the way up and all the way back down. Feel okay?
Yes.
We're going to do this again, all the way up and all the way back down. Still okay?
Yes.
One more. All the way up and all the way back down. Next exercise we're going to do will be on your ankle. I'm going to lift your foot off the bed and we're going to bend forward and backward like you're stepping on a gas pedal.
Okay.
We'll do this 3 times.
Okay.
So I'm going to lift and we'll bend forward and backward 1, forward and backward 2. Feel okay?
Yes.
And 1 more. Okay, any pain or discomfort?
No.
Is there anything else I can get for you while I'm here?
No.
Magazine perhaps?
No, thank you.
Okay, let me get your call light for you, and I'm going to open the curtain.
All right, thank you.
Here's your call light. If you should need anything at all, please let me know.
Thank you.
I'm going to go wash my hands. After washing my hands, I'll review the steps of my skill, make any corrections, and tell the evaluator my skill is done. All right, any questions on that? No, pretty easy? Range of motions are by far the easiest skills we learn to do. And thankfully, they give us 3 of them out of the 21. So it's pretty balanced. Some easy, some a little bit harder. The next one that we get into is going to be harder. It's going to be harder. So let's take a break, clear our minds, maybe get a snack. And when you come back, we're going to come back at 11. We're going to get into some slightly more complex, none of them are hard, but slightly more complex skills with a lot more steps. Okay, we'll see you in a few.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You just practice your hand washing?
Oh,
Oh, sorry, I'm a little jokester. Can't help it. Surprised you guys haven't heard my snort yet. Praise God, you guys don't, because then I won't do this stuff. I'm sorry, but those two rows.
I know. That's why I was like.
That's why. Are they gone? Did they both? Yeah. Okay. So when I was sitting over there the first day, like, I'm sorry, but we're not the girl. They're both not. They're all three nice.
Right.
But if I'm trying to learn, I can't focus. Like I can't. If you're talking to me or whatever, I can't focus. And I'm a very hands-on learner. I need to focus. So a lot of times I'm doing these little things along the way, like if I'm flipping pages. I don't mean to like distract Miss Patty, but I'll do it on the way. Because if I'm gonna fucking have to go home and do this shit, I have other shit going on. Like I have to get new tires, new rims, fresh stuff in my car. I have another job after this. Like it's other stuff. Who has time to go back home and do all this, you know? So I'm just doing whatever. Like they fucking talk to me. I'm pretty sure they got a little offended because I think they got a little offended when I moved over here and stuff, and I'm pretty sure they made little comments or whatever. But it doesn't bother me because you know what? I will make friends here with people I want to make friends with. Like I'll be nice to everyone, but like I need to concentrate. You're constantly making noises and talking throughout the whole thing while she's talking. I'm sorry, but I can't concentrate.
You're talking about these two?
Yes, I think they got offended because I used to sit over there and it's just like if you're talking whatever, yes, you're funny, but I need to focus.
Yeah, they annoy the shit out of me. I just like
They both talk and I'm like I don't understand.
I got kids, so I just like block it out.
I'm sorry, but I don't know.
Like, are you gonna
throws tension, yeah, she'll mock, she'll mimic, she'll whatever. Like, you know, if something did happen, she would have told her parents. Because the mom spoke like pretty good English. Like, she just didn't really go to the appointments all the time because she wasn't in an accident with them. So basically, yeah, she was like, no, they never came to us. They never told us about any of that. Blah blah blah. Like, she's a minor. They need to have like came and told us. Like, they didn't even ask us anything. Nothing. They were pissed that I got fired because of that. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that company was very shady. So, and it was a professional company, and they didn't take it in professional hands. So yeah, I already got an HR, and they're like, no, trying to tell me that's not why I got fired. And I was like, I'm not stupid. That is the reason I got fired, and I did nothing wrong. I said I have nieces and nephews and cousins. Why the heck would I be? I wanted to work at a daycare at one point. Why would I be inappropriate? And first of all, I didn't even use the word twerk. I said, show her how to do the thing properly. But people can change your words on you. So you have to be very careful who you work with. Because say what you, it's out there is very rough. Just gotta say that.
All right, so we're going to move on. Let me get my thing up here.
Oh, wow, I love our class.
Yeah, we've got
I like
Favorite pretzels.
They got them with right amount of butter and salt added to them.
And they have some really good cheddar ones. They're different breeds. I don't like regular pretzels.
Well, we really are empty today.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We only are.
we have a lot of people on.
Did she tell you she had a week?
No, I didn't see her. We have a lot of people on. We've got about 30 people online watching. So
Even people in our classroom?
some of them are from the class. Yeah,
Okay.
others are just people watching to prepare for the test. All right, so we're going to move on to denture care. This is on page 96 of your skills book. Do you guys remember mouth care?
Yes.
Denture care is mouth care with an extra step. The big difference here is that our patient is not laying in bed, they're sitting in a chair. So this one is challenging for students. And in fact, students tell me a lot of times that this is probably the hardest skill for them to learn. Not because it's hard, it's because there's a lot of steps to it. So we're going to talk about that.
I have a question. Is
Yes.
mouth care on the exam?
Yes, mouth care is on the exam. Yeah,
You could either be brushing someone's teeth, they could brush your teeth.
yeah.
I really do brushing teeth and someone touching my mouth.
And dentures are on the state exam as well.
I can like I'm 90 minutes.
It is cold.
All right, so if you look at page 96, it shows you the steps that we need to take for denture care along with all the other principles that apply to this particular skill. There is a video for this. At the bottom, you'll see somebody with your level of experience should be able to do this within 13 minutes. It's going to be done on a live testing student. We're going to talk about that in a minute. It's going to be done with the patient sitting in a chair at the side of the bed, and charting is not required. Well, let's talk about this for a second. For the test, if you are the patient, you're not actually going to put dentures in your mouth. Nobody else is putting dentures in your mouth. You're going to be sitting in a chair with a table like this in front of you. The dentures are already in the denture cup. Now, that's because as CNAs, we do not take dentures out. We do not put dentures in. Not our job. Patients have to be able to do that themselves. If they can't put their own dentures in or take their own dentures out, they don't wear them. We puree their food. The reason for that is if I have dentures in my mouth and I want to take them out, let's say I have dentures on the bottom and I want to take them out, I've got to get my fingers way back here at the very back of the dentures and pop them up and forward to get them out of my mouth. I'll never put a lot of pressure on my lower jaw because of my position, right? But if you have dentures and I put my fingers in your mouth all the way to the back to pop those dentures up, these knuckles have to press down on your jaw for my fingers to have enough leverage to pop that denture up. I can dislocate your jaw very easily because I have no idea how much pressure I'm putting on that jaw. Does that make sense? So because of the risk of dislocating the jaw, CNAs do not take dentures out. You also don't put dentures in because when you put dentures in somebody's mouth, they will automatically bite down to seat those dentures. And if your fingers are there, it's an unconscious, they're not trying to bite you. It's an unconscious action, but they will bite down to get those dentures in the right place. They'll end up biting you accidentally, but still, it's still a bite. So we don't take dentures out. We don't put dentures in. Patients have to be able to do that themselves. Okay. Dentures are usually held in place with denture paste. Denture paste is stringy, gummy, sticky. And that denture paste is going to remain on the gums after the dentures are taken out. So denture care involves cleaning the dentures and cleaning the mouth those dentures came out of. Now, if we're trying to clean all that sticky, gummy paste with food particles in it, if we try to use a brush like a toothbrush, all of that paste is going to get all wound up in that brush and it's not going to be very effective. So when we clean the gums, the mouth the dentures came out of, we usually use this. This is a toothette. Provides a flat, solid surface. They're spongy. They're, really soft. Provides a flat, solid surface that just kind of swipes that denture paste and the food particles away. And then we can turn it a quarter turn and have another area to work with, and turn it a quarter turn and have another area to work with. So it's much more effective at removing denture paste and food particles from gums than a brush is. Okay, good. All right. So nothing new to learn here. We know skill rules. I know you know it because you just recited them to me. You know the opening. You know that we're going to wear gloves because of body fluids. You know to use a barrier because there's supplies. You know that linens can't touch your uniform. You know to clean the basin, rinse, dry, store. You know to do the closing. There's nothing new to teach you here other than dentures. And that's what we're going to get into now. So page 97 gives you your care plan at the top of the page. Care plan says a resident with dentures is sitting at an overbed table with their dentures in a denture cup, just like this. The resident's denture needs to be brushed, toothpaste, and the resident needs mouth care. The denture is stored in a denture cup after cleaning. Please do not try to put these dentures in somebody's mouth. They don't need them. You might be the patient for this. You don't want dentures in your mouth. The resident is not able to provide their own mouth or denture care. I'm going to tell you, dentures are expensive. Very expensive. $2,000 to $4,000. If not more. Yeah. So your patient, if they're able to take care of their own dentures, trust me, they will. They don't trust you. They do not trust you. They will take care of their own dentures if they're able to. Because if you drop these things, they do break. So if your patient can take care of their own dentures, you're not going to be anywhere near them. But if they can't, we've got to take extra special care to make sure that we're doing this right so that our patients' dentures don't suffer the consequences. So we're not breaking them. All right, you can see all of the supplies at the bottom of the page here. And man, there are a lot of supplies for this skill. Make it make sense to you. Remember, we always start out with a barrier. We need a brush to brush the dentures. We need a toothette to clean the gums. We need toothpaste because our care plan said. We need water, a place for them to spit, like an emesis basin. We need a towel to dry them off. We need a washcloth for the sink, and we need some gloves. In this case, we're going to get 2 sets. I'll explain why in a minute. So denture care is going to involve cleaning both the both the dentures, the fake teeth, and the mouth they came out of. So remember, this is a 2-part skill. It's going to require 2 sets of gloves. One to clean the dentures. Now, if we've cleaned the dentures, they're dirty. Would you want those gloves in your mouth? No. So we need a clean set of gloves for the mouth care portion. Make sense? So there's 2 ways to clean dentures. How would we know which way we're going to use for this patient? Care plan, absolutely. So the 2 ways are a toothbrush and toothpaste, and that's what our care plan told us to use. So that's the method we're going to use for the test. The other way is to put the dentures in a cup with fizzy tablets and let them soak. Fizzy tablets do a really good job of breaking down those food particles in denture paste, and then you just rinse them off and maybe a soft brush to get any, particles that remain, and the patient can use them. Most of our patients are going to prefer the denture tablets because toothpaste is abrasive. It can actually form little micro cracks inside the dentures that are going to harbor bacteria. So most of your patients are going to want the dentures cleaned in fizzy tablets, not with toothpaste. But for the test, we're going to follow our care plan. And our care plan said to brush it with toothpaste. Okay. So if we're going to clean the dentures with toothpaste, we're going to use this. This is a denture brush. It's a 2-sided brush. You see the 2 sides. One side looks like a toothbrush. We're going to use it on the teeth. The other side is narrower, and it's going to fit in the groove of the dentures.
Where it doesn't.
Where it fits over your gums. Yep. The toothette is what we're going to use to clean the mouth because it just swipes off that denture paste and food particles. So I'm going to pass these around and let you take a look at both of those. This we use just like a toothbrush. We're going to wet it and put toothpaste on it, just like a toothbrush. The denture brush, we're going to wet it and put toothpaste on it, just like a toothbrush. So they're used like toothbrushes. Just like with mouth care, though, we want to prepare all this before we put our gloves on. So we're going to do our opening, wash our hands, get our barrier, get our supplies, and then we're going to get this prepped. We're going to wet our denture brush. We're going to put our toothpaste on both sides, and we're going to take it to the sink. But that's going to be important. We don't want to put our gloves on yet. We want to do all of our prep work because what is the first thing our gloves should touch?
Patient.
The patient. In this case, the dentures. So when we go to the sink, we don't want this denture brush just laid on the side of the sink because that sink is not clean. We have to have somewhere for that denture brush to hang out until we're ready to use it, somewhere clean. Well, that basin is clean. So we prepare our denture brush, put it in the basin, and take the basin over to the sink. That way we have a clean surface for that denture brush to live until we're ready to use it. Because there's something that we're going to need to do here. When we get over to the sink, remember I said dentures are very expensive, right? We are going to have to find a way of keeping those dentures safe if we should maybe happen to drop them. Because once we get water on those dentures and toothpaste on those dentures, they're going to get slippery. So we've got to be able to keep that surface safe. So when we get to the sink, we're going to have our denture brush in the basin, not hanging out on the side of the sink. need a clean place, because we need 2 hands to be able to put a washcloth in the bottom of that sink. When we put the washcloth there, it's going to provide a softer surface. If the dentures should fall, they're less likely to break. But even better, if we can get that washcloth over the drain. So that's why you really kind of need 2 hands for this. So if you put the washcloth in the sink and make sure it's over the drain, it's going to let the water kind of pool up in the sink. And that means that the dentures won't hit the bottom of the sink. When it hits the water, they just kind of slowly sink down, and it keeps them from breaking. So we're going to do all of that before we put our gloves on. But I've got to turn the water on.
Napkin.
I need a paper towel to turn that water on. Good? Don't have gloves on, because if we have gloves on and touch that faucet,
Gotta get a new pair of gloves.
we're contaminating our gloves. So we're going to use a paper towel to turn the cold water on. And for dentures, we're going to use cold water, not hot. Heat coagulates proteins. Those of you who go on for nursing, you're going to need to know that. The thing you need to know is that heat makes proteins sticky, harder to remove. Well, everything in your mouth is proteins. Your saliva has proteins. The food has proteins. The denture paste has proteins. We don't want to make this stuff harder to get off. We want to make it easy to clean. So we don't want to use hot. Good? Make sense? So we're going to use cold water to clean the mouth or the dentures. Of course, we're going to wear gloves, but we had to do all of that before we put those gloves on. You had to get your denture brush ready. You had to take it over to the sink in the basin. You had to put your washcloth in the bottom of the sink. You had to turn the water on with a paper towel and check it to make sure that it's cold. And then we're going to put our gloves on before we actually touch the dentures. But let's talk about those dentures for a second, because remember I said that the dentures are going to be in a denture cup on the table in front of your patient. That's where we're starting. So we got to get that denture cup over to the sink at some point. We can't touch dentures without gloves, but we can touch the denture cup without gloves. That's okay. So you can take that denture cup anytime to the sink. Doesn't matter. You don't need gloves. You don't need a paper towel. Just take it to the sink. But I know that that cup has been touched by a lot of hands. So for me, and what I suggest for you, when you do your opening, hi, Miss Jones. My name is Patty. I'm your CNA today. I'm here to clean your dentures. Is that okay? Awesome. I'm going to close your curtain, and I'm going to go to the sink. I'm going to take this over to the sink and set it down on the side of the sink, and then I'm going to wash my hands. So that once I get all of my supplies and I go to the sink, it's already there waiting for me. Good? Make sense? Now, if you forget, it's okay. You can take the dentures at any time. I just know that I want the cleanest hands I can get. Okay? Make sense? So we want to wear gloves when we're cleaning those dentures, but remember that gloves are going to make everything a little slipperier. So be careful there. First thing your glove should touch is the patient, or in this case, the patient's teeth. And then we're just going to brush. Nobody cares about the brushing. There's no time requirement. Just get all surfaces. Top, bottom, front, back, whole thing. Groove and all. But be careful that you don't drop those dentures. We also don't want to set the dentures down in the sink. Sink's not a clean place. So even with a washcloth, we don't want to set the dentures down. So we want to keep them in our hands at all times. That's actually a graded checkpoint. Once we get done washing and rinsing the dentures, then we're going to rinse the denture cup, because we need a place to put those dentures. We can't put them in the sink. So we'll rinse the denture cup out, fill it up with cool water, and then we'll put the dentures inside and cover it. At that point, you can turn the faucet off. Up until then, that faucet should still be going. And it's okay to touch the faucet with your gloves now because we're all done with the skill. Now we're going to take that denture cup filled with the dentures and clean water over to the patient. Remember, we're not putting dentures in their mouth, but the denture cup needs to be somewhere that they can reach it. I don't want to put a wet denture cup on this surface though, because it'll warp my table. So I want a coaster. I want a paper towel under that cup because it's filled with water, just to make sure that it doesn't get my surface wet.
You don't. What if you just put a barrier before you do that? Just so you just.
Well, remember at the end of the skill, the barrier has to go away because it has to be a clean environment. So a paper towel will keep the surface dry. Okay, so we're going to leave the denture cup on a paper towel. Now, it doesn't have to be on this table, though. When we're done cleaning the dentures, we can put a paper towel under it and put it on this table. So when we leave, our environment is clean. Okay. We want to wring that washcloth out, put it in dirty linen. Doesn't matter when you do this. Doesn't matter when. You can do it now. You can do it at the end of the skill. Doesn't matter. Just make sure that you've addressed this at some point. There's no checkpoint that says when. All right. So now we're done with dentures. But I told you that was only half the skill. What else do we have to do? Yeah, clean their mouth. So I know that if I'm going to do mouth care, they need something to spit in. I've got that basin that was holding the denture brush. So I need to bring that back over to the table so that they have a place to spit at the end of mouth care. Right now it's got a denture brush in it though, so I'm just going to pick that denture brush up and put it to the side so my basin is empty. I probably want to do that before I take my gloves off. That denture brush has all kinds of stuff on it. Does that make sense? Yeah. I've rinsed it, but I probably want to set it to the side. Now I'm just going to do mouth care. Just mouth care. Wet my toothette, put some toothpaste on it, set it in the basin, put my gloves on, make sure the patient has a towel over them, brush all surfaces with a toothette, let them rinse and spit. It's just mouth care, but with a toothette instead of a toothbrush. Good. This skill is hard for students because there's so many steps. So many steps. This is one you're probably going to have to practice. Now, I do have dentures in the room for you to practice with. Okay. So when you do mouth care, you're just going to brush the top, the bottom, the front, the back, and the tongue, just like we did with everything else. We'll leave our patient's mouth clean and dry. But let's talk about some dentures. Remember that we don't touch dentures unless we have gloves on. So let me put my gloves on. When we're talking dentures, you probably envision a full plate, something like this. When we're talking about dentures, this is what most people think about. Right? Full plate. All of the teeth have been replaced. That's what most people think about. This is a top plate. This part goes up against the roof of the mouth. This fits over the gums. Top plate. But not everybody needs a full plate of dentures. If the patient has healthy teeth that still remain, we don't want to pull the healthy teeth. We would then just replace the teeth that need to be replaced. This is called a partial. You'll see that it's got some teeth that we've replaced, but it's got some holes that go around the patient's remaining teeth. Full plate, top, partial, bottom. This is a partial because it's got a cutout for the tongue. Full plate has a whole plate on the top that seats up against the top of the patient's roof of the mouth. Good. There's also one more type of denture called a bridge. A bridge is just a little piece of denture that clips onto teeth on either side. A lot of bridges are now permanently implanted. So you don't see bridges as often except with older individuals.
And sometimes they can snap too.
Yeah.
Snapping.
So bridges are small pieces. Partials are a full piece, but with cutouts for the patient's natural teeth. And a full plate replaces everything.
Will you get a top and a bottom for the test?
For the test, you'll only get one. It could be a full plate. It could be a partial. It depends on what the testing facility has. Okay. Dentures are always stored in water, never out of water, because a denture out of water will dry out, become brittle, and can break very easily.
And since our mouth's a naturally wet area.
Right. So I have these in here for you to play with, to practice with. And I also, give me a second, let me go get a set to show you.
So I've been doing a lot of practicing with dentures. I've seen some people go out their dentures and it's scary. Very scary.
I thought I fucked up for a minute. This thing fell and it fell straight in my lap.
Okay, sorry guys.
Oh, lovely.
All right, in my
No, thank God.
in the practice kits that we sell, we have trainers, denture trainers. They look like dentures. They have a groove like dentures, but they're for you to be able to practice cleaning the dentures, and they come in a denture cup. So the practice kits have everything you need to be able to practice all of the skills. Bath basins, emesis basins, toothettes, toothbrush, dentures, denture cups, gait belts, chucks, everything you need to practice. And we have dentures in there too to play with. They're not real,
More practicing.
obviously. All right. So I'm going to show you the video for Denture Care because it has really good close-ups. Then we're going to get into ambulate with a gait belt. And finally, we're going to do partial bed bath, which is the longest skill that we have. So this really is what I consider the hardest day of class. Doesn't seem that hard, does it? But Denture Care is hard for students. Lots of two parts to it. Partial bed bath is the longest skill. You know all the steps already. Partial bed bath, there's nothing new except for how to hold the washcloth. That's it. That's all we're learning new. You already know all the steps, but man, are there a lot of them. Okay. So this is probably the hardest day for you. Wednesday, easy. Super easy. Okay, let me take this down. And show you Denture Care. So how much time does the book tell you Denture Care you should be able to do Denture Care in?
13 minutes.
13 minutes. So
Hello.
hi, Mr. Jones. My name is Patty. I'm your CNA today. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Wonderful. I need to do Denture Care on you. Is that okay?
Yes.
I'm going to take your dentures to the sink. I'm going to close the privacy curtain and wash my hands. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Jones. I'm going to place a barrier on the table so we have a clean area to place the clean supplies. And then I'll gather the supplies that I need. We'll need a cup of water, a toothette, a denture brush, toothpaste, a basin, a washcloth and a towel, and 2 sets of gloves. Okay, we're going to get the denture brush ready for use, so I'll wet it and apply a little bit of toothpaste to both sides. We'll allow the basin to hold that denture brush until we're ready to use it. I'll be right back, Mr. Jones. I'm going to go clean your dentures.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Jones, I'm just going to set your dentures over here so that you have them if you should need them later.
Okay.
I'll place the denture brush on the barrier, and now we'll remove these gloves. And we'll throw those away. Do you mind if I place a towel over your chest?
That's fine.
This will help keep your clothing clean.
Thank you.
We're going to prepare for the mouth care portion of this skill. We'll take the toothette and wet it. Apply a little bit of toothpaste to one area of the toothette and apply gloves. Okay, Mr. Jones, I'm going to brush all surfaces of your teeth now. So in a moment, I'll need you to open your mouth wide so that I can reach the back teeth.
Okay.
Okay, can you open your mouth? Thank you. I'm going to brush the back on the bottom and on the top, both sides. Okay, can you bring your teeth together, please? Thank you very much. We're going to throw the toothette away. And would you like to rinse? Very good. Would you like another rinse?
Yes, please.
Another rinse?
No, thank you.
Okay. I'm going to remove your towel and we'll place this in dirty linen. We'll throw away the disposables. And now I'm going to clean your basin. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'll place the denture brush and the toothpaste in the basin and open the drawer with a paper towel to store the basin and other supplies. I'll remove the barrier from the table and we'll throw this away as well. Now I can remove my gloves. Mr. Jones, are you comfortable?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I get you a magazine?
No, thank you.
Is there anything else that you need?
No, thank you.
Your call light's right there. If you should need anything, just let me know. I'm going to open your curtain and go wash my hands.
Thank you.
After washing my hands, I'll think about the steps in my skill, make any corrections, and then tell the evaluator my skill is done. Questions? All right. Okay. Pull this back up. So many steps. Oh, come on. Okay, there we go. I will have that fixed by Wednesday. Now I know what's wrong with it, so that's half the battle. All right, so now we're going to learn Ambulate with a Gait Belt. This is on page 66 of your skills book. Page 66. You'll see that we know most of the principles. We are going to learn a little bit more about shoe rules today. This skill should take somebody with your level of experience, no more than 5 minutes to do, so it's a short skill. It's going to be done on another testing student, so that means you might be a patient being walked. Patient's going to start out in a chair. Documentation is not required. We have a video on it, and this is the short version. So we need to learn the rest of shoe rules. Remember, we talked last week about the first 2 items of shoe rules. And that was if the patient's feet hit the floor, we talk about their shoes, and slipper socks are not enough. We talked a little bit about that. We're going to learn the rest of shoe rules in just a minute. If you look at page 67, we have our care plan at the top of the page. It tells us to ambulate the resident at least 10 steps. Remember, this is round trip. That means 5 steps in one direction, 5 steps back. Okay? So we're not walking very far. They give us 5 minutes to walk somebody 10 steps. Lots of time. Don't rush. Of course, we do have to put an opening in front and a closing behind. It says use a gait or transfer belt. Patient will be sitting at the side of the bed with shoes on. Patient is able to able to walk, but needs assistance to stand. So we're going to help them stand, and they're able to walk on their own. If you're the patient for this, walk like you walk. Do not be a 90-year-old person. Walk like you walk. So let's get into the rest of skill rules. Remember, slipper socks are not enough. We actually need shoes on the patient. And lucky for us, our patient came with shoes because you guys are all wearing shoes to the test, right? Okay, so they'll already have shoes on. But you do have to verbally acknowledge it. You have to say, I see you have shoes on. Or, are your shoes tied well? Or, do your shoes fit appropriately? You got to say something about shoes. Let them know that you know that's important. But we also need to learn how to use a gait belt because this care plan is telling us that we need to use a gait belt for this particular skill. So a gait belt is a flat canvas belt. Let me grab one. This is a gait belt. It is a flat canvas belt, has a metal buckle, and a free end. This goes around the patient's waist, not yours. Now, a lot of CNAs will wear this as, they're working just to have one available at all times. So they wear it around their waist just to have a convenient place to store it. But this isn't for you, it's for the patient. So when you put this around the patient's waist, it's important that it's around their natural waist. It doesn't matter whether the buckle faces this way or the buckle faces this way. Nobody cares. What matters is that the tag is on the inside like every other article of clothing. So this goes around the patient's waist. When you put it around their waist, you want to make sure that it's flat and not twisted. So see how that's flat and not twisted. We don't want it twisted. When you put it around their waist, the free end goes through the first guard by the alligator teeth. Now those teeth tell us which direction to pull this. See how all the teeth point that way? We're going to pull it that way. It needs to be snug. If it's too loose, if you don't get it tight enough, when you go to lift the patient, it's going to go underneath their breasts, under their arms, or they'll just slide right out of it. So it needs to be snug enough to stay in place. I know it's snug enough if I can fit 4 fingers under the belt, but no more. 4 fingers between the belt and the patient. And you actually have to check it with 4 fingers. They need to see that. Once we get it snug enough, we're going to take the free end and put it through the second guard to lock it in place. Now this end can hang down. If it's too long, just tuck it up in the belt so it's not in your way. When we remove a gait belt from a patient's waist, you're going to undo it from the second guard. But now, in order to get this off, I have to slide the buckle along the belt. If I just try to pull this, it doesn't do anything. You have to slide the buckle along the belt and remove it. Don't slide it across their skin. Listen to this. You hear that? That is going to cause a burn. We don't want to do that. So you either reach around and get the belt, or you can loop it up and over. Don't let the buckle hit the patient's head. Make sure that you protect them. So you either reach around to collect the belt or loop it up and over. Either way is fine, but don't slide it against their skin.
And don't knock them out.
And don't knock them out. All right. So when we put the gait belt on, we're going to secure it, make sure the tag is on the inside, and check it with how many fingers?
4.
4 fingers. All right. Before we stand a patient, their feet need to be flat on the floor. Now, this is a problem for some people like me. Let me show you. Now, those of you at home may not be able to see this very well, but I'm short. If I'm sitting in this chair and I sit all the way back, my feet do not touch the floor. The tiptoes touch, but my feet are not flat on the floor. I can't get them flat on the floor. My legs aren't long enough. So in order for me to get my feet flat on the floor, I actually need to scoot forward so that my feet are flat on the floor. if I'm sitting back like this and I'm on my tiptoes and you try to stand me up, lift me, that's right. I'm going to topple forward because you're moving my center of gravity and I don't have a firm base. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So most of you guys don't have this problem. You sit down, your feet are flat on the floor, it's no issue. So you probably don't even think to look. But this is an important part of the state exam. You actually have to make sure their feet are flat on the floor. It's the number one way to prevent falls when you're lifting a patient. So for the test, they actually need to hear you say it. Are your feet flat on the floor? And if the answer is no, they need to scoot forward a little bit to get them there. Good? Okay. When you stand somebody up, we have to use the right body mechanics. We're going to count to 3 to make sure that they're a partner in this. If I just grab somebody and stand them up and they're not ready for it, their muscles need to engage to hold their body weight. If I just grab them and move them, they may not participate in that, and that's going to put both of us at risk. So we're always going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3, and lift. That way they're a partner in this. And we're going to stand at an oblique angle. Both of these things revolve around body mechanics. Counting to 3 and making sure you're in the right position to lift somebody. So when I'm going to stand somebody up, I need to be in this position. We used to, years ago, stand in front of our patient, toe to toe, knee to knee, and lift them toward us. But there's a physics principle here. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So if I've got a 150-pound patient here and I'm lifting 150 pounds towards me, that means there's 150 pounds of force that's pushing me backwards. And my back may not be able to counteract that. So as that weight comes forward, my weight goes backwards, and that can cause a fall. At the very least, it could cause an injury in my back. So a better way of doing this is to stand at an oblique angle. So if you look at my feet sitting in this chair, you can actually see there's a line in front of my feet and lines to the side. I'm kind of like sitting in a box with these lines. I'm going to use that box. So see where my feet are. When I'm going to lift somebody, I'm going to put one foot in front of their feet like this. So it's a cross or perpendicular. That keeps our feet from sliding out. The other foot goes parallel to the chair like this. So now I'm standing at the corner of that box. And as I lift, I'm not lifting their whole body weight toward me. I'm lifting it forward. So they're not going to throw me off balance. We always bend at the knee, not the waist. We don't stick our butt out. We squat down. So I'm going to squat down, reach around to the back of that gait belt, and on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, we're going to stand. And when the patient stands, they're much, much more stable. This is called an oblique angle, and it makes everything more stable, reduces injuries and falls. Okay? And I'll show you how this looks in a minute. We want to make sure the patient's not dizzy before we walk. It's horrible to get like all the way over here and go, oh, hey, you dizzy? Because if they say yes, what's your exit strategy? You don't have one.
You can't set them back down right there.
No. Okay. I mean, the chair's wet. So what a lot of CNAs do, oh, you're dizzy? Oh my gosh, let's hurry back to they're dizzy. They're not hurrying anywhere. They couldn't tolerate a slow walk. You really think they're going to tolerate a rush? So we want to know when we stand them up, how are you feeling? Are you dizzy? Everything good? Then we can walk. If during the walk things go south, we're not going to hurry them back to the chair. Not going to hurry them back to the chair. We're going to sit them down right where they are. Because a patient sitting on the floor can't fall on the floor. Okay? And then we'll find a nurse and make it their problem, not ours. Good. Never rush the patient back to a chair. They're not going to make it. So we'll ask if they're dizzy. Before we sit somebody down, you need to get them to back up so they can feel that chair. If they're here and they can't feel that chair behind them, that takes a whole lot of trust. I mean, that takes a lot more trust than I have currently. If I'm supposed to sit down and I don't know there's a chair behind me, I'm probably going to be a little resistant. So when you back somebody up to get them to sit down, make sure they can feel that chair, and you want to ask, can you feel the chair? When they feel the chair, then they're much more likely to sit without struggle. Okay. Good. All right, so reviewing the shoe rules. The patient's feet hit the floor. We got to talk about their shoes. Slipper socks are not enough. We're going to check the gait belt when we put it on using how many fingers?
4.
Okay, feet must be flat on the floor. We're going to count to
3.
before we lift. Once they're standing, we're going to ask them if they're dizzy or weak. And then when we return them to the chair, they have to feel the
Chair.
behind them. And we're going to use those proper body mechanics that we talked about, that oblique angle. We're going to bend at the knees, not the waist. Okay? Now, there's one more step to this that I didn't have in here, but it's kind of important. When you're going to walk somebody, you need to look in the area you're going to be walking to make sure there's nothing in the way. Because once you get them up and moving, you can't leave them. So if I've got this tray table in my way, I can't leave the patient standing there to go move the table. And it becomes a hazard. So the very first thing you really should do is scan your environment to see is there anything in your way. And if there is, move it first before you stand the patient up. For the test, there will be something in your way. Not might. There will be. It's usually a table, and it's obvious, like right there. So you wouldn't want to move that table during your opening. Okay? Good?
I have one question. Would you want to move it before it?
Doesn't really matter when you move it. Nobody cares. Yeah. You can move it before you wash your hands or after. I usually move it before because once I wash my hands, I try to keep my hands clean for the patient. I am going to touch the gait belt though to put it on them. It's going over the clothing, so it really doesn't matter. I'm not really touching any body openings. If I was going to touch a body, if they had an incision or a wound, what would I need? Gloves. Remember, gait belts go over the patient's clothing. Let me tell you a story about this. Real life testing story. Student was testing. Had never seen a gait belt. Didn't know how that they worked. Was very confused. Put the gait belt on the patient around their chest and looked at him and thought, that doesn't look right. Took the gait belt off, put it around their waist and had the patient hold on to it. And then thought, that's probably not right. And then she stood the patient up and put the gait belt around both of them, or tried. It wouldn't fit. So, guys, this is who they're grading you against. Okay, it's not hard. It's not hard. The gait belt goes around the patient's waist, and you want it at the waist, not the chest. You want it at the waist because we want to lift at the patient's biggest area of weight, which is here. If we're lifting from here, this is kind of trailing behind and it's going to cause more force and we're going to injure the patient. Around their waist, you want to hold it near the back so that when you lift, you're lifting the heaviest part of the patient. Okay, good. Easy peasy. We want to hold the gait belt around the back, not the front. And when you put your hands around the gait belt, you want their hands on your shoulders. Look at that. If their hands aren't on your shoulders and they're like this, This throws that whole body mechanics thing off. Do you see her position? That's going to put a whole lot more pressure on the CNA. That's not good. So with their hands on your shoulders, not around your neck, just laying on your shoulders, it moves the patient as a unit. Much easier. We're going to walk slightly behind, let the patient lead. Your focus should be 100% on that patient. And the reason for that is this. Patients don't just walk along, I'm fine, everything's great, wonderful. It doesn't happen like that. Patients that are going bad on you, they give you all kinds of clues that things are not right. They will start to slow down, or they'll get a little wobbly. They might put a hand out on the wall for stability. They might put a hand on their stomach or their head. They might just kind of sway a little bit. They might get pale and sweaty. But there's always a clue that something is not right. Can we rush that patient back to the chair? No, we're going to get them to sit where they are. Okay, make sense? Don't rush them. But if you're not focused on that patient, if you're not walking slightly behind and looking at your patient, you will miss all of those clues. And then it looks like, yeah, we were just walking along. Next thing I know, she's on the floor. Well, that tells me that you weren't watching your patient. Right? That term, next thing I know, that tells me everything I need to know. If you can't tell me step by step what happened, your focus was not on
The patient.
the patient. So you probably want to erase that phrase out of your vocabulary. Next thing I know, because that tells the nurse everything they need to know. Okay. Make sense? All right, so we're definitely going to monitor them throughout the skill. And when we lower them back into the chair, you want to control their descent with that gait belt. Don't just let them thump down. Don't pull that gait belt across their body, and check to make sure that they're seated properly, hips against the back of the chair. All right, so I need a volunteer to come sit in this chair for me, and I'm going to show you what the skill looks like. All right, guys, this is my supply shelf, just so I don't have to. All right. You ready? Okay. This is in my walking path. We're going to walk to the table and back. This is in my walking path. Keep that in mind as I start this skill. Here we go. Hi, Miss Jones. My name is Patty. I'm your CNA today. How are you? I'm good. Fantastic. Do you feel like going for a little walk? Sure. Okay. Let me just move this out of our way. I'm going to close your curtain, wash my hands, and I'll be right back. Now, the reason I have to tell her all that is because if I ask her, do you want to go for a little walk? She says yes, and then I leave. She's going to think that she's supposed to follow me. So we want to tell her, yeah, I'm going to go wash my hands. I'll be right back. That way she knows nothing is required. My hands are clean. I see you have shoes on. Can you come forward a little bit so your feet are flat on the floor? Awesome. I'm going to put this around your waist. This is going to help me just kind of give you some stability as we walk and help you stand, okay? All right. So I'm going to put this around your waist. We're going to secure it through the first guard by the alligator teeth. Remember, tag on the inside. We're going to pull it so it's snug, 4 fingers. Lock it in place. Okay. All right, I'm going to have you bring your feet together. You're going to put your hands on my shoulders. And on the count of 3, we're going to stand up and make sure you're not dizzy, okay, before we go walking. Good? Okay, so 1 foot in front, 1 foot's going to go beside. You're going to put your hands up here. And on the count of 3, we're going to stand. 1, 2, 3. Feel that stability? Are you dizzy at all?
No.
Feel okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, when you are ready, you can start walking, and I'm going to follow at your pace. So I'm walking slightly behind in the one side. Okay, we're going to go ahead and turn around. And we're going to come back to the chair. Very good. Now, if you can turn around and back up so your knees hit that chair. Can you feel it? You're going to put your hands back up here, and I'm going to help you sit. 1, 2, 3. Good. Okay. And
That's the weirdest way I've ever sat down.
and are you seated properly? Are your hips back far enough? Good. Okay, very good. Are you feeling okay? Dizzy at all?
No, ma'am.
All right. We're going to pretend you can reach a call light because for the test, the chair would be next to the bed, but here I have it out so everybody can see. Do you need anything before I go?
I'm good.
Are you comfortable? You have your call light. I'm going to go ahead and open the curtain. The environment is clean and safe. So I'm going to put my gait belt back. Open the curtain. Wash my hands. Make any corrections if I need to. And then tell the evaluator my skill is done. Thank you. Questions?
Do you ever put the table back?
We just want the table out of the way. It doesn't matter where. Yeah. Just out of the way, out of your walking
So
path.
they just kind of like casually put a table in our way.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're going to do.
Okay.
And you'll probably look at it and go, when did that get there? But it'll be kind of a, not really secretive, but they don't really make a big deal out of it. You just kind of move it. But they're looking to see, are you scanning the environment for threats? They can be sneaky. But it's all in the name of patient safety. All right, so now we're going to move on to the longest skill, page 126. This is by far the longest skill we have. If you look at the bottom of the page, you'll see that somebody with your level of experience should be able to complete this skill in 19 minutes. That is a really long skill. Remember, we did range of motion. That was only 4. Ambulate was only 5. This one's 19. So we already know that this is a super long skill. Okay. It's not a hard skill. It's just a long skill. And the good news is you know everything you need to know about this skill except for one thing. We're only going to learn one thing for this. Now, at the bottom of the page, you can see here, this is going to be done on a mannequin for the test. That mannequin will be in bed. Charting is not required, but man, almost every single principle is used here. We're going to follow the care plan. We're going to do our opening. We'll evaluate if we need gloves. Hint, you do. We're going to use a barrier for our supplies. We'll cover the patient with a privacy blanket. Linen rules are going to apply. When we turn the patient over, we got to scoot them toward us first and always roll them away. We're going to use our washing rules. We're going to use our basin cleaning at the end of the skill, and we're going to do our closing. Wow. Almost every single principle up there is used in this skill. The only one that's not used, shoe rules, because patient's feet never hit the floor on this one. So lots and lots and lots going on here. But theoretically, it's still easier than a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So these are our steps, and this is our care plan. Let's look at this care plan for a second. What do we know about the care plan? Got to follow it. So our care plan says, give the resident a partial bed bath and back rub. So let's stop there for a second. That word partial means there's areas we're going to clean and areas where not. How do we know what areas we have to clean?
The care plan.
The care plan, and that's why this care plan is so long and detailed. It tells us exactly what to wash. Wash the resident's face, neck, chest, abdomen, back, and one arm and hand. Do we care why we're not doing the other one? No. Pick one. They don't care. Pick one. With soap and water. Provide a brief back rub with lotion. Dress the resident in a clean hospital gown after bathing. Patient is lying on back in center of bed and can roll as directed, but is too weak to assist with bathing. Okay. So we don't have to do the whole positioning, arm up, arm over, leg angled, knee bent. We don't have to do that. We just scoot them toward us and then roll them because it says that they can assist with roller. Okay, good. Lots of supplies. We have a barrier to put them on. You need a basin, soap, lotion, washcloths, towels. We're going to cover them with a privacy blanket. Care plan tells us to put them in a clean gown, and we need some gloves for this because we're working around doorways in the face. So we've learned most of our washing rules, but we left one out when we learned washing rules. And that's the one we're going to concentrate on today. So this blank right here is going to be filled in. Remember that basins are no soap zones. We're going to use a paper towel to turn the faucet on. Warm water only. We check it. They check it. Whatever we wash, we rinse. Whatever we rinse, we dry. We're going to change that water if it gets soapy or cold. We're not going to get our surface wet, and we'll warm lotion before use and then wipe off the excess. So that one blank is what we want to concentrate on. This one right here, the leaves method. That's what we're going to fill in here. We already did these. I just did those verbally. Okay, so let's get to this one, leaves method. The leaves method is a special way of using a washcloth. So if I have a washcloth here, just a plain square washcloth. You guys probably have these in a linen closet at home. We usually fold it in half and in half again, and that's how it hangs out in our linen closet, right? Okay, so you guys can play along.
So great.
All right, so we have our washcloths. If you at home are playing along, go get a washcloth. So instead of looking at it as a square, I want you to look at it as a diamond. A diamond. So instead of a square, diamond. And when we look at it as a diamond, we want the free ends, the flappy parts, the openings at the top. So if we hold this in our hand in a diamond shape with the free corners at the top by your middle finger, and you tuck in one side between your thumb and index finger, the other corner between your ring finger and your pinky, you hold it like this. When you hold it like this, you can wipe something and then fold that over, trapping the contamination underneath, giving you a new cleaning surface to clean something else. And then you wipe, fold that over. That gives you a new cleaning surface, trapping the contamination underneath. You can wipe, fold that over, new cleaning surface, wipe, fold that over, and a new cleaning surface. So it gives me 5 independent cleaning surfaces. Let me see yours. So instead of this pointing up, I want this pointing up. Okay. So we're going to, we want these parts pointing up.
Some things that you don't know.
On top of that. So we're going to that and tuck that.
Oh. So this is why sometimes I wish you have bigger hands than I have.
Yes.
Can I come back Your hands are midget hands.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I got
midget
midget
hands too.
okay.
Good, good, good.
I mean, I
Yeah, no,
think
it's-
it's supposed to do
Yeah,
it.
I think it's
Second this,
really
second this,
tough.
second this.
It's literally like a little, like, it's like this.
I got little short stubbies.
Yeah, my toes are like sausages, yep. They're right.
What?
Short
What are you
toes.
talking about?
How small our hands are and stuff, how difficult it can be with small hands.
True.
Trying to, yeah, never mind
True.
our toes, you know.
Yeah. Switch to that.
Okay, so we are going to use this leaves method when we are washing wet body openings. So that would be the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the genitals, anal area, wounds, rashes, sores, or incisions. Remember, any doorways in or out. Well, our care plan told us to wash the face. The face has doorways. So we need this leaves method when we're washing the face. Okay, good.
So why was it in yourself?
So we're going to use this again with other body parts, washing other wet body openings like peri-care and catheter care. But we're going to learn it with partial bed bath. All right, so the way this works is you hold it in the palm of your hand. You wipe something with the first leaf and you fold it over. You wipe something with the second leaf and fold that over. You wipe something with the third leaf and fold that over. You wipe something with the fourth leaf and fold that over. And you can even use the backside if you need to. It's independent cleaning surfaces without cross-contaminating. Because if I wipe this eye, I don't want to take whatever I picked up and bring it to this one.
I have a question. So if your hand's small, can you take your other hand and be like?
Yeah, and it's a two-hand process. So if I'm holding it in this hand, I'm going to flip it in this one.
And then
Okay. All right, so we're going to follow the care plan here. And the really easy way to remember this, guys, is face to waist.
Face to waist.
Front and back, one arm and hand. Face to waist, front and back, one arm and hand. Okay? That's the easy way to remember it. We don't want to put soap in the eyes. It stings the eyes. That's no good. So we're not going to use soap on the face. We're just going to use water on the face. But when we're washing the face, we're going to use the leaves method, just water, no soap. We want to wipe one eye inner to outer corner. And we're going to use the leaves method because remember, we need the leaves for eyes, nose, and mouth. Those are doorways. So we're going to wring the washcloth out thoroughly.
Thank you.
No soap, no drippy wet washcloths. Oops, let's go back here. And we're going to wipe one eye inner to outer corner. We always start on the inside and move away. We're going to fold that leaf, other eye inner to outer corner. Fold that leaf, the rest of the face and around the mouth, fold that leaf. I do the nose last. Boogers, you know, don't want to spread them
So
around.
that's one washcloth, and then you get another one for
The body, right. So anytime we wash, use a washing washcloth, that can't go back in the basin. Rinsing can. It's okay to put a rinsing washcloth back or just grab enough washcloths that you never have to put anything back. The problem is, I'm going to show you how to do this with reusing rinsing washcloths. And the reason is when you go to work out there, you may not have enough linens. It's very common. Your linen carts they get raided by staff members. Everybody goes in, grabs all the linens, and then hides them for their units. Well, that doesn't leave you with enough. So you've got to know how to do this without
resources.
Yeah. So we're going to learn how to wash stuff while reusing rinsing washcloths. So that kind of helps cut down if we don't have enough. Remember, soapy washcloths can't go back in the basin, but rinsing washcloths can. Okay. We're going to wring all washcloths out thoroughly. And when we're washing the arm, we want to always support from below. Remember that? We've heard that a couple of times. We'll set washcloths aside on the barrier. Anything soapy doesn't go back in the basin. We're going to wash, rinse, and dry the back at the end. And we're going to give a brief back rub. Now, let's talk about that back rub for a second. We are not massage therapists. We don't deep tissue anything. This is basically to restore circulation and make the patient feel a little better. When you were a kid and mom came along, kind of rubbed your back a little bit when you were sick, it always made you feel a little better. That's what we're doing here. A little back rub 3 times, waist to shoulders with lotion, little circles, waist to shoulders with lotion, restores circulation because remember they're laying on their back, and it just kind of makes them feel cared about. Remember, cared about is just as important as cared for. At the end of the skill, we're going to change the gown. Now, I'm going to give you a hint here. You can wait until the end of the skill to change the gown. That's perfectly okay. Take the gown off, clean the body, put a new gown on at the end. That's okay. But that means that patient is undressed that entire skill. They may not be comfortable with that. So what I do is I wash the body, the front, put the new gown on. Turn the patient over, wash, rinse, dry the back, give my back rub, and now all I have to do is tie the gown.
Well, yeah, because they're opening the back, so you're really only putting the front on.
Right, right. So I do that because it saves steps, it saves time, but it also keeps the patient covered as much as possible, so it protects that dignity. Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to, you can, it's perfectly okay to take the gown off at the beginning, wash the front, rinse the front, dry the front, turn them on their side, wash the back, rinse the back, dry the back, back rub, turn them back on their front, put the gown on, turn them back on their side, tie the gown, back on their back. You can do all that. That's okay for the test, but it's a whole lot more steps. So what you'll see in the book, what you'll see on the video is the shorter version. I wash the front, rinse the front, dry the front, put the gown on. Okay. Either way is okay for the test. All right, so let's go through this whole thing real quick, step by step, and then I'm going to show you the video. Remember, this is a long skill. So the more review we do in the beginning, the easier the skill is going to look. So we always do our opening, knock, knock, knock. Hi, Miss Jones. My name is Patty. I'm your CNA today. I need to give you a bed bath. Is that okay? Pull curtain, wash hands, go get a barrier. Go get your supplies. Then we're going to fill the basin. We're going to check it. And they're going to check it. The evaluators probably will put their finger in the basin. You're not going to address them. You're not going to ask them to, but they may check that water for temperature. We're going to protect the sheets with a towel. That way the sheet doesn't get wet. And we can ask the patient to sit up while we untie their gown and put the towel in place. During bathing, we're going to undress the patient, which means they need a privacy blanket. And we're going to be cleaning the face, so we need some gloves. Remember, the first thing our gloves should touch is the patient. So we're going to wash the eye from inner to outer corner, 1 leaf per eye. The rest of the face with another leaf. And the nose last. Whatever we rinse, we dry. So we'll dry it off. Now, when you're working with a towel, control the towel. No flippy corners everywhere. Make sure you don't like
slap her face.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure you control that towel. Wash, rinse, and dry the torso, 1 arm and hand. We don't care how. Let me say that again. We don't care how. Just get it clean. But I am going to talk to you about something, though, that's kind of important that's not on this slide. When you're working with a mannequin, she has plastic breasts. They're nice and perky, stay in place. You can clean under them really easy. Real breasts don't normally do that. They generally tend to go to the side, yeah. So we have to move them to clean under them. Please do not use the palm of your hand to move personal areas. So whether it's breasts on women, scrotum on men, try not to use the palm of your hand. Use the back of your hand to lift and then clean. Way less personal.
Because it looks like you're grabbing them.
Yeah, less opportunity for somebody to get the wrong impression. So we lift with the back of our hand and clean under. Okay? But wash, rinse, dry the front. How you do it, nobody cares. Just make sure you get all 3 steps in there. Support the arm when you're lifting it. I always do the armpit last because, right? It's the last place I want to hit. And then I'm going to put the clean gown on. And then I'm going to turn the patient over. We always scoot first and then roll. When I turn the patient over, I'm going to wash, rinse, and dry the back. I'll give them a little back rub with lotion, wipe off the excess, and then I'm going to tie the gown and put them back in the center of the bed. Then I'm going to clean up all of my supplies, right? The gown, everything goes in dirty linen. The washcloths, the towel, all of it goes in dirty linen. I'm going to rinse my basin, get my supplies, put all that away, throw away my barrier, and then I'll remove my gloves and remove the privacy blanket and do my closing.
Never mind. I totally just was listening to you, so my mind just went blank off.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
All right, so that's partial bed bath. 19 minutes, long skill. The video only takes 12.
So you can get a mannequin wet, so that's why
You're really gonna wash real mannequin with real soap and water. Just like a real person. And yeah, we can use soap on them. It's okay.
because they're not electronic.
Yeah. Even the electronic ones, we can use soap on. Yeah, there's mannequins, nursing mannequins now. They're pretty cool, actually. They give birth. They complain about pain. Yeah, they do all kinds of stuff. Yes.
I want to see one of those.
Yeah, they're like a car expensive.
I was watching a video online and it was one of the mannequins showing how a woman gives birth now.
Yeah.
Do they bleed too?
No.
So they don't
I mean,
really-
some of them do. They
don't
do
really-
have fake blood. Some of them, like when you're simulating traumatic bleeds and traumatic events. Yeah.
I'll be watching one of those videos.
They're pretty cool. Okay, so let me show you this video. Hi, Miss Jones. My name is Patty. I'm your CNA today. How are you? Good. I need to do partial bed bath. Is that okay? I'm going to close your curtain. Let me wash my hands, get my supplies, and I'll be right back. For this skill, I'm going to need a barrier for the table. This will give me a clean place to put my clean supplies. For this skill, I will need 4 washcloths, 2 towels, a clean gown, and a privacy blanket. It's a washing skill, so I will also need a basin, soap, and lotion. And I'll need a set of gloves. Miss Jones, let me go get some water. I'll be right back. Miss Jones, is this water appropriate temperature? Okay. And now I'm going to spread the privacy blanket out over you. This will help keep you warm and protect your privacy while we do this skill. I'm going to spread the blanket without snapping or shaking the blanket. And I'm going to pull your sheet down to about your waist. Okay, Miss Jones, I'm going to ask you to sit forward for me in just a moment so I can untie your gown. And I'm going to spread this towel out underneath you to keep your sheets dry while we bathe you. Can I assist you to sit up, please? Thank you. I'm going to untie your gown and spread the towel out on the bed. Go ahead and lay back down, Miss Jones. Thank you very much. And now I'm going to spread the towel out underneath the arm. I'll remove the gown on the side closest to me, supporting the elbow as I lift it. And I'm going to relocate the gown to the other side of the patient. This leaves the patient uncovered underneath the privacy blanket for bathing. The blanket will keep you warm. Now I can apply my gloves. I'll take the first washcloth and wring it out. And I'm going to use 4 corners. We'll wash the face first, no soap on the face. Ms. Jones, I'm going to wash your eyes. I'll start with the closest eye to me. I'm going to wash from the inner to outer corner. Very gently. And then we'll fold this sleeve over to prevent contamination from spreading to the other eye. Ms. Jones, I'm going to wash your other eye now, inner to outer corner. We'll fold that leaf over, and then I'm going to wash the remainder of the face. Using very gentle strokes and keeping control over the washcloth. We'll fold that leaf over and use the final washcloth for the nose. And then we'll set that aside. I'm going to take the towel and pat dry all areas of her face, making sure not to use too much force. We'll set the towel aside. We're going to take the second washcloth and wring it out. And we'll apply soap to the top leaf. We do not need to use the leaves method because all of her skin from this point is intact. We're going to wash behind the ear, under the chin, across the neck, the upper torso. We're going to lift the blanket to protect privacy but keep the patient covered while we wash down to the abdomen and up the side. Now for the exam, you are going to make sure the patient remains covered until the evaluators ask you to remove the blanket. At that point, you will just continue on. I am going to repeat these actions so that you can see what I have done. I'll remove the blanket for better visualization. Behind the ears, across the chin, the neck, the upper torso, around the breasts, down the abdomen, and up the side. Then we'll clean down the front of the arm, the hand, up the back of the arm, lifting at the elbow, and the armpit last. We'll set this washcloth aside because it has soap on it. We'll take the third washcloth in the basin and wring it out. And we're going to rinse all the areas that we just washed. So behind the ear, under the chin, across the neck, the upper torso, around the breasts, the abdomen, up the side, down the front of the arm, keeping the elbow supported on the bed. We'll rinse the hand, the back of the arm, and the armpit while supporting the arm. The rinse washcloth can go back in the basin for later use. Now we're going to dry all of those areas. So we're going to pat dry or use short, soft strokes, but nothing vigorous. Go ahead and lift your arm, Miss Jones. We'll set the towel aside. Now the patient has a clean torso, so we'll place the clean gown on her. Ms. Jones, can you reach your arm through here? I'll help you put your gown on. We'll lift the arm at the elbow, supporting it as we lift. And we'll spread the gown out. Okay, Ms. Jones, I'm going to go around to the other side of the bed now, and we'll dress the other arm. Since the care plan said that we only needed to wash one arm, we do not need to cleanse this other arm. That's per the care plan, but we do need to dress it. So I'll remove the soiled gown, and we're going to place this in dirty linen. And then I'll put the new gown on. Ms. Jones, can you reach through this armhole? Thank you. And go ahead and lift. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Jones, I'm going to ask you to turn onto your left side now. This is going to allow me to wash your back and give you a brief back rub. So I'm going to ask you to scoot toward me, and we're going to roll you onto your left side. Ready? Go ahead and scoot toward me. 1, 2, 3. Now the evaluator will hold the mannequin in place while you complete your cleaning. So I'm going to take the third washcloth, wring it out, and we'll soap the top leaf. I'm going to wash the back of the neck, the shoulders, and the back down to the waist. We'll set that washcloth aside. We'll take the final washcloth and wring it out, and we're going to rinse all of those areas. The back of the neck, the shoulders, and the back down to the waist. And then finally we'll dry all of those areas. The back of the neck and the shoulders, the back down to the waist. Now our care plan asks us to give the patient a brief back rub. So we're going to use a little bit of lotion, making sure to warm the lotion in our hands before we give them a back rub. Ms. Jones, I'm going to give you a little back rub now. I'm going to start at the small of your back and work my way up in small circles to your shoulders. We'll do this 3 times. This is for circulation purposes. 1, 2, one more, and 3. I'm going to wipe off the excess lotion. Now I can tie the patient's gown. And remove the towel that's protecting the linens. Ms. Jones, come on back onto your back, please, and scoot to the middle of the bed. Thank you. I do not want to touch that sheet that's going to go right up next to her face with soiled gloves, but I need my soiled gloves to take care of all of my dirty linens. Ms. Jones, I'll be right back. These items are going to go into dirty linen. Now I'm going to go clean the basin. I'll empty the basin and rinse it, and then pick it up with a paper towel. I'll dry the inside with one paper towel and throw it away, and then dry the outside with a paper towel and throw that away. And I'll get one for the drawer. I'll collect the soap and the lotion, placing them in the basin, and return the basin to its drawer for storage. Paper towels can be thrown away. This barrier is going to be discarded, and now I can remove my gloves. Okay, Ms. Jones, I'm going to remove your privacy blanket now and pull your sheet back up. Are you comfortable? Good.
We're going to roll the privacy blanket in a ball so that the trailing edges don't contaminate other surfaces. This will be placed in dirty linen. Okay, Miss Jones, is there anything else I can get for you while I'm here, such as a magazine? No? Okay, here's your call light. If you should need anything at all, please let me know. I'm going to open the privacy curtain and wash my hands. After washing my hands, I'll think about the steps of my skill, make any corrections, and tell the evaluator my skill is done.
All right. Any questions on that? Okay. So, well, there we go. Okay, so we learned 4 skills today. We learned range of motion, hip, knee, and ankle. We learned denture care, ambulate with a gait belt, and partial bed bath. We'll learn another, I think, 3 skills on Wednesday, and the final skills the following Monday. You do have the rest of the class today to practice. As we go through the program, each class you'll get a little bit more practice time at the end of class now. The first 2 weeks is nothing but lecture because I have a lot to teach you. Now you've got enough under your belt that you should feel comfortable at least trying to get through some of the practice. Thank you. Thank you. You should feel somewhat comfortable. Now it's just a matter of putting all of those principles we've learned into practice. And that's where practice is going to come in. Your review sheet is here. I'm going to pass these out. There's 2 pages to the review sheet today. It kind of sums up what we've gone over in class. These are very, very useful to you if you keep up with them throughout the class. These are very useful to you right before you go test. When you're waiting to go in and take your test, this is a very good comprehensive review of everything we've gone over. Okay?
Is there any chance that the one from Nasi Wednesday?
Sure.
Thank you.
Oh wow, literally.
And if you've kept up with these, you'll notice that you've been filling out all of the principles as we learn them, these, with the right answers. So you now have all of the principles, because this is the last one, that we've gone over. Who needed 4?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, the rest of the class is practice. Does anybody have any questions before I end today's lesson? No questions? All right, YouTube people, thank you for joining us. We will see you on Wednesday at 9. Hopefully I'll have all of the tech working by then. Keep your fingers crossed. And remember to tune in on the first Tuesday of February for our game show to help you with that. Till next time, happy caregiving. Bye.